And welcome back to the Basil Breen Boombox. We're back after a little bit of a hiatus, as you might imagine, with the whole album being recorded and all the work that it takes Basil to do that. But we're back now with none other than Adam Kelly, aka the Master of the Box, of course.
I've been called many things. Master of the Box is a good one, though.
Yes.
I've been called Master Creator recently as well.
Master Creator?
Yeah. I'm gonna take that title. I was a bit apprehensive of
the Master.
It seems a bit egotistical to call yourself the Master Creator, but it was a title that's been given to me.
Yeah,
by
you
others.
can't help if people are saying that about you. Well, some people call me the Master Creator.
It's not me,
Master of the Box.
Yeah. Oh, I do love banging a box, me.
Oh, yeah. But I remember because it's actually this a little bit embarrassing for me. Because I'd seen, but this is when I first started getting on the scene or whatever. I seen loads of videos of you just banging a box everywhere. Everyone had you banging the box, and I thought that the instrument was called because I never heard the word said before. So I think I said, "Oh, you play the Cajun."
Yeah, the chicken. Yeah,
the Cajun, right? And you're like, "Oh, you mean the cajon, or is that what it is?"
But even if I think it's cajon, or some people call it cajon.
Okay.
I call it cajon, but I could be wrong as well. But
yeah.
That's how I read it. But it's just Spanish for box.
Is it really?
That's all it is.
It's just box.
Just box.
So cajon is just box.
Yeah, not to be confused with cajones.
Interesting.
So I think it's just cajon.
No way. And cajones, like the box and the cajon and the cajones come together.
No, I don't know. Well, phrasing.
Feel like that's the yin and yang. No, but so what is it, right? So I wasn't thinking about going into this, but what is so interesting about the cajon? As in, what makes it not just an ordinary box?
Well, see, it's an acoustic drum, and it's got a bit of depth to it, and it's hollow, and it's got depends on the cajon itself. It's got a couple of snare strings running down the middle in a V, which gives you the ability to play different tones. At the top, you have more of a snare and a kind of a cymbal sound, and then towards the bottom in the middle, you get more of a deeper sound where your bass sounds. So you can basically imitate a full kit just with a very small instrument.
Interesting.
And it's practical, and you can travel with it, you can busk with it, you can mic it up.
So
rather than bringing a full kit with you, you can get the same effects for an acoustic gig with such a small instrument.
Just out of the box.
Just out of the box. And it's quite versatile, and it's easy to pick up. I played drums as a kid in my teenage years when my brother got a drum kit into the house. And he got lessons and was terrible, couldn't keep time. And he's like, I'm trying to do this thing. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4 with this hand. And then on the 1 and the 3, trying to hit my foot. And on the 2 and the 4, use this hand. And he was trying for ages. And he's like, give me a shot. So I sat up on the kit and it's like, you're trying to do this. And he's like, how did you do that? I was like, that's what you told me to do. So I taught myself how to play drums. Not very well, but I gave it a good bash. Played in bands throughout school, and then kind of left that for a while because I got a job as a chef and there was no time to continue playing. But then got home maybe 2010. Got it as a birthday present, started messing around with that, and then I moved to New Zealand and picked one up over there and did a bit of busking around New Zealand with the cajon and a fellow I met in the hostel that I lived in, and we just busked for wine and
what?
We busked for wine and kebabs. So we used to go out at about 7 o'clock, just around dinner time, so we get enough money to get wine and kebabs and then go on the session. Then afterwards,
no way.
And we had our sign was "Need money for sex," because prostitution was legal over there. So we like to have oh look, let's be blatantly honest. Say we need money for sex. So people would see that sign and come down, that's a laugh, and they throw a few coins in. And we just did covers of Oasis covers and indie songs and stuff like that.
So what was were you singing as well?
We did a little bit of singing. We did some improv songs, and we did one. We want sex. Can anybody help us?
Oh, that's a classic.
And just repeated that over and over again, and that just drawed people in and gave us money. And we just make enough for a couple of bottles of wine and a few kebabs, and then went off on our night.
Wine and kebabs. It sounds like a band name or something.
Living the dream, you were living the dream.
That's interesting because I didn't. Obviously with the Smithfield stuff. I think that started with busking, but I want to go back just to because the drumming I've always heard. Well, I've always imagined that because what I'm singing here in my house. My neighbours have been very good, but you know how loud I am. I'm going when I'm practicing, except for that gig there. I set up this mic. I set up this conditions as if I was going to be on stage for that gig. So I was singing every night, let's say, for at least half an hour. And I usually sing and play guitar, for an hour in the evening just to, it's just you need to
Yeah,
practice.
you need to put the
but
time in,
I'm
yeah.
so loud, right? And my family, I have a cutoff at like 9, let's say.
Yeah.
But with the drums, it just seems that, and then harmonic, any instrument, right? You have to be worried that you're just going to piss everyone off.
Yeah, true.
So with the drum kit, were you
Lucky enough, like when I had the full kit, I was in my parents' house, and we had like the garage converted into like a room, and that garage was connected to my neighbour's garage, and so like for them, like they wouldn't hear it too much because there was a nice divide between
brilliant.
the doors and the connection, so it was all right. And again, we had a cut-off point at 9 o'clock.
Yes.
But like you could hear it down the road, you can hear it down the street, and like I had a neighbour that lived across the road, he was in bands years ago. He would have been a good 10 years older than me, and he could hear the drumming being played.
That's a good lad.
But he always thought it was my brother playing. So he invited my brother over to play with the lads, and they were like doing like Oasis covers and a few of their own songs and stuff like that. My brother went over and like, he did one rehearsal with them, and I was like, yeah, no, that's not going to work out.
Because it's interesting with rhythm and time, because I'm seeing it now. When I'm listening back to my vocals, when I'm editing vocals, the timing is so important to give it that professional sound. You can tell when it's not falling on the beat, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's very difficult, even with recording. Like I recorded an EP with Flight of Ideas, and first time ever using a click track.
Ah, yes.
Oh my god!
Welcome to hell.
Oh, it was excruciating. Like
at the beginning, it takes a while.
Yeah. Oh, it took like because we tried to record it like as a all together with all the instruments, and I just kept going out of time completely.
Yes.
Like all the time was I speeding up, slowing down. I was terrible at. And then like we recorded the cajon separately and got it down great, but like when it came out on the recording, it just sounded like this, banging on the table. So after that, like we parted ways since, and I wish them all the best because
Yes.
Niamh is fantastic. She's the singer, a co-songwriter.
Yeah, she's
and
brilliant.
She's amazing. She had a cajon herself, like, and she.
Yeah, I've seen her doing the.
Oh man, it's
and
fantastic.
she's singing and doing the cajon.
Like that blows my
that
mind.
blows my mind.
'Cause, like I can barely like if I zone out a little bit, like I kind of play to the feel. So like I always play to what it feels like. But like she's very regimented in how she does things,
Yes.
and she's so talented. Like
her rhythm is beautiful, isn't it?
man, like,
she's really good.
like when I was away at the start of December, and I came back, and they had their feature session or feature slot in the Circle Sessions, and it was the first time I saw Niamh and go home with the band, and I was literally like, oh man, like I'm throwing in the towel. Like
Yes.
you just work away. Like I'm not gonna stifle your growth because that just sounds amazing. So like they're gonna go ahead with that. Like so it's like, yeah, these are fantastic. You don't need me.
It's so interesting because when I seen her, I was thinking it's hard enough. So when I'm singing without a guitar, that's where I feel like when I'm just singing, I can have more. I can just give all my focus to the singing. I love actually just singing, but obviously the guitar you need the guitar, and I do enjoy it with the guitar. But to get the best, if I wanted to give the best possible performance of my vocal, let's say, I'd actually just wouldn't have the guitar. And then I was looking at her, I was just like, oh my God, it just seems like how much brain, because you have to allocate brain power to both parts.
Yeah.
And I just think, anyway, I'm sure like it'll work out for
It's
them.
a hard
And it did
craft
sound
measurement.
good.
Oh,
It
they're-
was sound, and I can't imagine, like, videos don't do it justice as well. You know, when
No.
you see a video versus live.
Yeah.
I've had this experience where I had a real good close friend of mine, Keith. He became close friends. I seen him posting songs on a Facebook group years ago, and he was only getting started. And there was some potential in one of his songs, so I just wanted to give him some well wishes, and basically we've become very close since. But I remember seeing videos of him first, and then one day he came out when I was busking, and I was like, "Come on, I was like, get up do the busking or whatever," and I was just like, "What is going on? I didn't know you were this good. I didn't know your voice was this good." Because the videos, the shitty little camera phones.
That's it. Like the phones don't do it justice. Like you need to have the
No.
high spec mic to go with it, like or one of those
Yes.
dictaphones, the
And
three
even
mics
then,
on it. Like
there's something about live that it's different.
live is amazing. I love live, and there's a lot of people that come down to like Smithfield Creatives and they play live, and then you hear recordings like stuff that they've done or what they're releasing on Spotify. It's like, and I'm thinking to myself, I prefer the live version.
Yes!
I know you put a lot of work into your recordings now, but the live is much better.
I know.
And you don't want to say them, so I won't mention any names of who I'm talking about. But like,
I know, yes.
some of them are like that's a little bit overproduced, or your voice isn't there. But live is where it's at for me. Like I've always loved live music growing up,
Yes.
like I've tried to go to at least one gig a week, you know, the kind of way. Now I'm literally nearly every night of the week I'm going to a gig, like, and I
You're
love
just in
it.
it. But it's interesting because back in the day, let's say before we've had the ability to record ourselves, it would have just been that's where I think we're going back to. So when we first learned how to record stuff, we're very adamant about, let's record it and get the best. Like when you're listening back to a vocal, especially for me now, I'm cutting out the breath, cutting out the saliva, making sure it's on time. There's so much that goes into trying to make it perfect, let's say, right?
You
Or
can be too pedantic over it, like,
you're so pedantic. But if I was doing it live, or if it was improv, this is what I really want to get into.
I love
right?
your improv, by the way.
But I want to take, so with, there's this lad Mark Ribble. Have you ever seen him?
Oh yes, I went to see him. Oh, you've
seen him?
Oh yeah, he was playing
we tried
in
to
the
get
Tivoli
tickets.
before and turned
Yes.
down about 4 years ago. I went with my mate Richie and a fellow I work with, Jack, and absolutely incredible. This is before he donned like
the bathrobe and
the
everything.
bathrobe and everything. He was there in a t-shirt and jeans, but like, oh my god, that fella's a hero,
He's
man.
brilliant.
Oh, I
But
love
he's
him to
inspired
bits.
me to try and. I have the setup and I've been experimenting with it, but I do like eventually that's where I see myself once I get good enough at the piano. Now I'm not as virtuoso as him, but you don't need. You'd be so surprised at what you can get away with without overcomplicating things.
That's
like
it.
let's say techno, right? Techno's very simple. Well, like depends on what you're talking. Melodic, it can get complicated.
Yeah.
But if you just have just introducing little elements, you could just have two chords or change between. That's just looping, and then you're just like.
You can just build on it. You can
Yeah,
just
yeah,
build.
you just build on it. You know, it doesn't have to be like he's a virtuoso on the
Have
piano.
you heard of Beardy Man?
No.
Oh, Beardy Man is like an amazing beatboxer, but he just got the same kind of thing as Mark Ribble. But instead of like using instruments, he just got like a load of synths and pads and stuff like that, and he just loops his voice, and he can make any type of music.
What?
Beardy Man, he's someone you'd
I need to
have to
check that
see to
out.
believe. I've seen him a couple of times at festivals and stuff like that. He is incredible, and he will get you going. Absolute nut job.
Yes.
But like he'll like take requests of like, give me a genre, give me a theme, and you can give him the most abstract, surreal type thing, and he will make a song on the dot, and you'll be bouncing. I mean, like he'll
Interesting.
turn it into like a techno gig or electro gig, and everyone's like just basically
Wow.
gurning and moshing out.
He
Like
can just he uses his voice as his main instrument.
that is completely his own instrument, and then whatever he can like,
Just has
he can, I don't know, like just take all of his voice and sample it and loop
Oh,
it
he
and change
resamples
it
it and
then
does things
change
like
it to
pitches
sort the
it.
sound,
Oh,
everything.
shit.
Like,
Yeah.
stuff that I've no idea about because I'm like not a technophobe.
Does he use like a loop station there?
he has a loop. He's got a lot of equipment.
He got a lot of, there's a lot of shit.
A lot of stuff that looks amazing that I've no idea what it is, but he's
Jesus.
incredible. Definitely one to check out. A fella called Beardy Man.
Beardy Man, I need
Yeah.
to check that out because I think so. Just go back. I think in improv, let's say you make up a song on the spot. There's less. You're less worried about even the lyrics. You're less worried about the production. It just happened in the moment, and then you take it and you throw it away. And there's something real liberating in that because I think, especially when I come up with song, sometimes I wake up and there's a melody in my head. And I think, is it a good one? Is it not? Is it good or not? And then I'm like, if it's good, I have to fucking record it.
Yeah.
And then, but a part of me feels, I like the idea of because there's a burden. Recording is a burden on the actual creative process in a way, because you try to get it perfect, and you have to kind of make a record of it. Like it happened, and we need to record it, and we need to make sure we don't lose it. But that's. I think we're going to come back to a place where, because when AI gets really good, we're not going to be able to. Yeah, well, it's already brilliant. But when it comes to music, I say in the next year, the music side of things is gonna take a hold there as well.
Yeah, a friend of mine was showing me an app the other day that he downloaded on his phone. A fella called Shane Barry. He's involved with Tomp 2 Socks, which is a company. Going to plug that for a second.
Yes.
But he had an app on his phone. We went out for a hike there like a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying like, record me a song about the Dublin mountains and blah, blah, and it would give him the full lyrics, the bridge, the chorus and everything like that, but he couldn't actually do the music, but they could write the lyrics and everything for you, and it came out beautiful. Like, some of the stuff was a bit abstract and a bit wrong, but like, you could take that and then clean it up yourself, and you had like a ready-made song in like 5 minutes.
What you're talking about is this thing called ChatGPT.
That's it. Yeah.
It's a new kind of model that, well, it's not new. It's based on another model, but they've made it in like a chat bot form. I use it a lot actually for work. I'll be like for programming or anything actually. Like for example, I got that video footage off Insane in the Memway that from that gig the other night, and
What gig was that?
oh shit, hey, fucking showcase by Smithfield Creatives, but we'll get back to that in a second. I just writ out the timestamps, like, so from like 1 minute to blah blah blah, and then a potential name for the file name, right? And I made a list of that, and I just with this, give me the bash script to make clips with these file names and of these from these parts. And I was like, oh yeah, here you go. And it just gave me the script. And then so I use it like as a tool to sometimes I don't even think about if it's real. Sometimes when you're writing code, you know what you want, right? And because you've done it so many times, but you don't want to have to write it anymore. So now I'm just thinking, how can I get this little bot to give me what I want? It's real good at formatting text and understanding format. But with songs and stuff, obviously now it's going to get better. I think it's not good at it uses the word but a lot, because but is like I think when I'm writing lyrics, if you're using the word but, there's room to make that better. Because but you can say but every time, but you need to make it more obscure, to make it more capture the essence of what you're trying to do. Anyone can say but. It's like this but you can it's hard to explain.
It's like Gutubin when you're speaking Irish and when you're doing these hands. I was like Gutubin. Everyone was like Gutubin. It's like, oh, suddenly it's like you need to learn like extend your vocab.
Yes. Or how can you say it in a way that's not reliant on the word but? Because I think but when I find myself writing but, it's like how can I it's really hard to explain.
Yeah, but I understand the sentiment behind it.
Yeah. With the AI stuff, eventually it's going to get better. But with music generation, there's this thing they released about 2 years ago called Jukebox, right? And they gave it the start. There's a few like examples, but one example was they gave it the start of Wonderwall, and then it finished it itself. It does the vocals, it does its own version of it, but it was trained on the world's music basically.
Yeah.
And eventually, what you'll be able to do, which I think will be cool, is you'll be able to say, give me a jazzy chord sequence played on the piano in the key of C, whatever, right? And it'll give you that, right? And then you'll be like, okay, give me a kind of drum pattern that kind of goes with that. Because the music production, let's say, could be aided by that.
It could be aided by that. Or like the music industry could be just taken over completely by AI.
Oh.
And then we'll all be out of work.
Yes.
Or it could mean that any Tom, Dick and Harry with like a tiny little idea could make an amazing song, and the actual art side of it, the actual going through it all, is taken out of it. It becomes a bit hollow then, because like AI is going to be doing all the work for you.
Yes.
So it takes away like the actual.
It's going to take. This is what is going to happen. It's going to change how we value art. We're going to value art differently because it's the only reason we find art, sort of captivating in a way is because we know this was difficult to create in a way.
That's it. Like it's self-expression, because like you have to come from a place where you've been inspired to make the art, and it takes a lot for someone to either have that life experience to be inspired to make a certain type of art, and then to actually get it out and work on it, and then being brave enough to get out there and showcase it. Because there's millions of people that are way more talented than the most talented artists in the world, but they just don't have the confidence or the courage or the network or the people behind them to support
the opportunity, financial constraints. Like, there's so many reasons. But there's no stopping the wave that's coming. So that's what I'm saying. Live performance is going to be the last stand, because it's the only thing you'll be able to say for certain that is a human doing that thing, potentially. You know what I mean? And even then, so I think improv performance, we're going to come back to that, because everyone's going to be able to create a brilliant song. Everyone's going to be able to do it. And the problem with the record industry, because they don't care really, they're business people at the end of the day.
Exactly, yeah.
Music is like a beautiful transformative art, but the business side of it is just ones and zeros on the stock market, or whatever. And when they realize, when it gets that good, where they just say, well, I don't need this songwriter anymore, so thanks very much, but we're just going to go with the AI now.
Well, see, the thing is, like, for the human aspect of it all, like, music is so good for like mental health. Like, even for years, like things like exercise, daylight, diet, and music. Like, some of the best like mental health experts, they'll be saying like just banging a beat, like getting that body moving, getting the rhythm
Yes.
behind you. That's so good for releasing energies and releasing stuff. So that comes from art. Like every kind of like indigenous tribe from all across history to now, like they've always had a beat behind them, like a drum beat. But the
Yes.
Irish is bell rounds with the African drums, like
Yes.
everything like that. There's always been a beat, and that's always been something that brings people on and brings people together, like
Yes.
showing it. So that's like the very earliest form of art, is just literally a beat.
The beat is it's the most because I heard this before in a video. There was this band, they're called Lancroom. Roddy P, like they do like kind of Irish folk stuff, but there was a video years ago that I seen, and it was kind of like an outtake from it, but there was just this man, and he said that the original beat is the heartbeat, like when you're in the womb, like that beat, like why, so you have to understand, like music is reflective of it's actually a real phenomenon that is out there that we're kind of discovering in a way, and there's so many characteristics that, like the beat is the most fundamental, like the beat, like when you're talking about having to record to a click, that's the fundamental kind of spirit. There's a rhythm, there's a beat that we're all following, and the heartbeat that we listen to when we're in the womb is very suggestive of like if we're relaxed, if things are going crazy or whatever.
Just writing
Just
down,
what I seen you writing down. I was like, tag you in, baby.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like there could be a cool way of like recording heartbeats at different times of how quick and fast they beat, and making some sort of like track from that, just from heartbeats itself. So it starts off in a resting heartbeat, like dum dum.
Like 60, whatever the average
and then,
is.
Like you're given like some sort of stimuli, whether it be like something scary and go dum 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 dum, or then like something exciting and your heartbeat goes up and down, and that could be something.
Imagine that's how they customize music. Imagine, right? Because you have a resting heartbeat, I have a resting heartbeat, so what we think is high and low is different for our physiology. So then we could have custom music.
That's it. Like we can just get a load of like stethoscopes and put them on people. And just kind of like hook them up to recording apparatus and just like record.
Make your perfect song, or get loads of different beats.
Yeah. And then because like beside your size and your form or something, you might have different pitches of your heartbeat coming out. Like that'd be mad interesting.
There has to be someone that's brilliant idea.
We have to do that. We have to.
Hold on, we have to turn off this podcast. We have to cancel. No one's getting to see this before we make the hard fucking beat. That is so interesting. Because I think that is the most fundamental spirit, and it's something that we can all. It's the glue. So the reason, let's say we're in a group, and like you were saying, your brother as well with the drums, like the fact that you can, the drums is it glues everything together, because we're all going to that beat. And the click, it's very important, because I heard this really beautiful, I forget what it was, I forget where I heard it, but it was like that music is actually, it's like an archetype of oneness. So all the elements in a song are actually they actually create a oneness. So they're all separate entities, but they're moving towards wholeness and like the one kind of fundamental essence that they're all kind of shooting towards. So music, like music, right? There's so many layers to it, but it's a reflection of a journey, and it's a reflection of a story, like a start and an end, which reflects our own life, like a beginning and an end. And it also reflects fundamental things like the heartbeat, and melody is actually speech. Like when I'm talking, you could play my speech on the piano. So there's so many things that just...
And there's no better melody than the Irish accent, especially if you go very north of Donegal. It's almost like a song, and then it's straight back down to the very south of Cork. Like those melodies within the accent, they're almost singing the way they speak,
Yes. Have you ever seen this, the lilting?
Lilting, yeah. So which lilting are you talking about?
Before, so there's before... what do you
that was me.
Just open the Shark Tank and I just fall into it.
It's a magical table's moving.
So lilting, I think before, in Irish culture anyway, I think it was a substitute for instruments. So it's all like all that kind of stuff. I know lilt is like a
lovely drink.
A lovely drink, but it's also like you have a lilt in your accent.
Yeah.
But lilting is an actual it's like, you can look, if you Google lilters, right? Just like real good lilters, like all that deedly daddy do. Like Christy Moore uses it a lot. Like in Irish music, you can hear a lot of deedly daddy do, daddy deedly daddy do's.
Yeah, and in the Caribbean music as well, you've got a lot of lilt, but that also comes from the Irish influence of the Caribbean. Like, because like when we were like indentured servants going over to the Caribbean when the British took us over, like they put us in the likes of like the Dominican Republic and Jamaica and stuff like that. That's where like the Jamaican accent and some of the other islands around have a very Irish element to their accents, like stuff like that. There's a great thing on YouTube that TG Carr did about like the Irish accents of the Caribbean, and it's amazing. Like there's these like old lads like in their 60s, 70s, like who were spent their whole life in the Caribbean but speak like pure Cork heads.
No way!
Yeah, oh, it's amazing
I've seen
to
some
see
things like that, but that's so interesting how that kind of came about. Because the producer I'm working with now, he says that there's this, you know, Simply Red.
Mick Hucknall, yeah.
Mick Hucknall.
Yeah.
He says that I kind of have a similar vibe to him, and like there's sort of he's just like there is like when I'm like I'm at my best, when I like the beat, the rhythm, it is kind of like there's like some sort of urban or there's another influence that, because I used to listen to a lot of like hip hop. Let's say I know I don't look that hip hop like guy, but you know I did. I love Biggie Smalls. I loved his flow. Yeah. I'd just be fascinated listening to how he bounces from one word to another. And there's something beautiful about that.
His elocution is amazing, and like the way he just his dictation is brilliant. Like
in the backseat, with that beat. It's just beautiful. It's brilliant. Everything is so. There's a mirroring with words that it's not just about rhyming, like you know, going to the end and then being your friend. There's also different types. There's like rhymes where there's like inner rhymes, and there's not even just rhymes. It's just like words that sound similar. Like rhyming is one part of it, but there's something about
you can use different parts of different words, and you can rhyme. You don't have to rhyme at the end of the line. You can like have one rhyme at the end of the line, and the one that will rhyme with that might be the middle of a line. You know? So like you're using the rhymes, but it doesn't have to be like, I have a dad. My dad made me mad. It doesn't have to be like that. Like,
but they're way more. But when you get into it and you're writing stuff, your taste will say, "Oh, I like writing. I like this line. I like that line." But then it's only afterwards when I'm analysing, I'm like, "Oh, that goes with that bit," and then that first verse kind of mirrors what happens in the second verse, because I'm just kind of reaching for them kind of sounds.
Same like with poetry is great because you got a bit more freedom in poetry to be writing different types of rhymes, because it doesn't have to be a bridge or a chorus. You just kind of like tell your story.
Yeah, tell your story.
Yeah. But at the same time, I find them more difficult to learn off by heart. I am terrible at learning things off by heart. Like
poems are so hard.
When I'm doing poetry gigs, like I'm majority of the time looking at a screen or something that I've written. Like, I think I've got one poem like I can do off by heart, like which you've heard a couple of times before. Yes,
well, we'll hear it again later on. Hopefully,
I might give you a little rendition of it. But with poetry, like I need to literally just practice more, because I've got an attention span that's terrible. Like, so I can't sit down and memorize. And then when I do, I've got a memory of a fish. It just goes.
Yes.
It goes like so. Like, I'd love to be able to have all my poems learned off in the back of my head, so I can stand up and like be able to like use my mannerisms and like move around a bit more.
In that poem, it's discussing like when the repetition of certain parts, like bam, 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 like that kind of stuff. They're kind of like they are points of similarities in the same song. And Emmett O'Brien actually,
amazing,
his last
genius.
video, oh my goodness!
I've heard him do that poem a million times, and every time he does it a little bit different. And the video we just released, like, it's amazing.
It's outrageous. It's like he's acting.
Yeah.
He's doing the poem, and the way he transitions into it. Look, I'm thinking about this thing. It's all just amazing.
I've been lucky enough to go to some of his shows, and once or twice actually support him on one of the two of his shows, and he's incredible. And that poem itself, the one thing I loved is like the hidden nuance of counting to 10 on scale.
Yes, I only noticed that because you said it.
Like, I love that. The first time I copped that, I can't remember where I was. I think it might have been in the Barber's Bar. I think he was performing with us in the Barber's Bar with Smithfield Creatives, and he did it. And it's like, when he starts saying like, car, and then quick to the mark and good, and then like that, and it's like, he's after count the 10 just there. And then like the next time I heard that poem, I was looking out for it, and it's like, love it.
His mannerisms, like when he sits on the couch and he goes, poetry is different, man. It's like he's actually. It's so the poem and the like the performance, they kind of merge into one. When he's like, I'm at least a 7, and then he goes, forget about that, and he kind of all the mannerisms and the actual kind of he looks like he's a brilliant actor. Or anything.
He's a huge performer. He's done. I think he's done a bit of acting. He's definitely wrote a script, and he did it before a couple of years back, if I'm not mistaken. Like a small piece. Like, he might be doing something new, but
I think I've seen him too. But what I wanted to say, right? His he has kind of choruses. Now it's hard to explain, but he uses kind of he'll like bouncing analogies off your noggin.
Yeah.
He uses that he uses sections twice, or he did this one called it's like. It's like, oh, and we said from like up the ride, Chucky Yard, that bit, like they're like choruses in a way.
Along, I say, Rick,
yeah,
you got my heart,
yeah.
Porter Pierce, De Valera,
he's fucking brilliant.
Good,
he actually
man.
is.
The passion he puts in that poem.
I've never seen him live.
I get
Actually,
goosebumps every single time.
I was supposed to go to a show last year, but my poor dog Sheba actually, who we had to get put down, and Arash is over there now. And then we have Bailey as well.
Bailey. Do you ever drink Bailey's from a shoe?
Don't be disgracing his name, but you're shy.
It's old grey. Come on, mighty boosh.
The point I'm trying to make is I think choruses and repetition of sections or parts or ideas are real important for the memory side of things, because that's how we actually remember things.
Yeah.
And repetition it's a great way to really get, it's like, see, brand and marketing and awareness. Let's say you see Nike. That's that repetition in play that works. Yeah. But it's how humans kind of gravitate towards learning knowledge or learning new ideas, or embed. Like let's say DC Fontaines as well. Yeah. They use a lot of repetition. There's this song, "The breeze in the night time will kill you stone dead." But it's repetition.
Yeah, it's a great song, boy. Do you ever listen to Hot Chip?
Yeah.
Over and over. That song is literally written taking the piss out of the pop industry. It's like, you can make any song as long as you repeat it over and over again. You gotta have that catchy hook. Miniature symbol.
It is brilliant. It is a catchy hook.
That's it.
But it's so hard to do that. Like they might be taking the piss, but it's actually fucking hard to write a catchy song.
Yeah, well, I've never written one, so
yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
Like the only songs, like I've written loads of songs over the years, and some of the best ones that I did was like I used to jam with two friends of mine. One played bass, one plays guitar, and I used to go down and do vocals for them, like just in like their shed. Like two phenomenal musicians, and they'd come out with like some riffs and some licks, and I just had to come up with lyrics and stuff on the spot, and I loved it. Sometimes it come out amazing. Yes. 9 times out of 10 they were shy. The other couple of times I'm just sitting there going, stage fright, no lyrics.
Yeah. That's the problem with that kind of stuff. The reason I was able to that I'm able to kind of improv now. I do when I'm in the car. Sometimes I'll just do it on my own. Yeah. I'll just be practicing stuff. I'll force myself to improvise, to practice that muscle in a way. Yeah. So that week, like I was, just in case it came up, I was like, I better be ready to just come off the cuff for that gig I was doing. And it comes in handy, but you have to let go of. As soon as you start thinking about it, it's over. You have to kind of just flow and hope you just kind of
let it carry you, get into that flow state.
You have to get into that flow state, because if you get inside your head, you start worrying about things.
You overthink, you overanalyze it, and then like your train of thought is not where it should be. It's more about, I should be here because this is...
Yes. It's the same with the singing and stuff. Yeah. If you start thinking too much about that, you didn't hit that note, whatever, like a second ago.
It's
or
same
the guitar.
when I'm playing the box, because I've jumped up with so many people with songs I've never heard before, original songs, and I just listen to the first couple of chords and like how quick they're playing, and I'll just come up with a beat to it. But then if I start thinking, okay, right, when it comes to like the second chorus or something like that, I'm like, what did I do the first time round? It's like, then I start messing up, and it's like, just play by ear. Like I'm great by playing by ear, but when I start thinking about it and overdoing it again,
I need to replicate that thing.
Yeah, then I lose the rhythm, I lose the feeling for it. I love playing for the feel of it.
Yes.
But if I have to be regiment, like it's kind of me in my life. I love doing things just as they are, kind of take life as it comes. But if I start like planning ahead, everything just goes wrong. Like, you know, that kind of
and we're more. That's where I think I want to move towards eventually with my performance and stuff. Now I do obviously there's different sides of creation. There's like creating the thing that's gonna like stand the test of time, whatever. And then there's that kind of stuff where you need to just improvise. But actually, I just wanted to say before I forget, the new version of Rebel that I'm recording, right? I sent the producer the video of me and you, where I'm like,
Ah,
my
no
little
way.
drummer boy.
Yeah.
So he's used like your beat has influenced that song. Like so when it comes
Brilliant,
out, like the rhythm, he tried to replicate that because I was like, I sent him that. And I go, the rhythm in this is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It felt like because it was a real go in that video.
brilliant. Yeah,
It was so spot on, and I used that to get the tempo of the next version of it. So it was brilliant how that kind of came about. Like,
I'll accept royalties and cash. Don't
yeah,
worry.
yeah. Oh, there's too many people. Like, oh, there's so many little things. Even taking over the world, right? I used
Taking
to
over the world.
Yeah, but that used to be instead of watch this, it used to be fuck this. I'm taking over the world, right?
Yeah. Now you gotta keep the explicit to the
You gotta keep the
minimum.
explicit out, and it doesn't. And so watch this was my friend Keith, who I was talking about earlier, because I'll just send him stuff. He'll send me stuff, and I'll be like, I'm struggling with this. I don't know what to use here. And he was like, I give him a list of things that I'm thinking, and then he just goes, what about watch this? And then watch this I like because it's like a magic. It's like the whole song is like an exaggeration.
Yeah, but it's also bringing a spotlight to the next part of the song. It's
Watch this.
I'm taking over the world.
It's so ridiculous. Yeah. It's like I'm pulling out a rabbit out of my hat. It's like for my next trick, I'm gonna take over the world because it's like a funny. The whole song is like a cool exaggeration of. Basically, when I got my first job, I was real optimistic, and that's where that came from. And but you know, it's going from like just sitting here and just being like, oh, I'm just gonna take over the world. It's that easy. So, but that watch this came from someone else, and then certain words like will just come from other people. And then art itself, it's like
like you can always like take inspiration and influence from other people. Like the other day, I think it was last week, the week before, I was at a gig in the Button Factory, one of Students' gigs. Do you know Students?
Oh yes,
absolutely amazing. I fucking love him.
Brilliant.
I love his sound. If he doesn't make it, we're off.
That's the thing.
Yeah. But Sticky Rhino,
brilliant MC.
He's class as
Flow
well. He's
is class.
so much talent in that fella.
He's got a freestyle as well.
Yeah. He had a line which I might have misheard it, but it was something like, "Is this the country that we fought the Brits for?" I think that was a line in one of his things. And like literally I just whipped out my notebook and I was like, I need to scribble that down because I want to make a poem around that. Like there's something there. Like so I'm always doing that, just writing like even like a couple of words that I get inspiration of. I just write that. Okay, I turn that into something. I do that with something. So I've been writing a lot more poetry now in the past couple of weeks than I have done before.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. Like I spent mornings in the Oval just off O'Connell Street with a few pints and just scribbling down the journal, stuff like that.
Interesting. I think because Hemingway used to drink. Not that I know Hemingway that much, but I know that he'd write drunk, edit sober. That was his thing. Because there's a liberation in drinking. I've only written drunk a few times before I stopped, but I've drank it on loads of other substances. I've written on other substances.
I'm 1 week sober today, so I'm going to try extend that to as long as possible. Yeah, because the drinking was getting a bit too much for the past while.
Well, the problem would be if you're going out to all these open mic nights or whatever. If I was drinking at these, man, like I'd be my life would be in a mess. Yeah. Like if I was back to where I was now, it would just be chaos for everyone involved, but also my life, waking up hungover and everything. But when you're going out to these things, because I've noticed a few people, I seen them drinking, then they just see to shift them to the water and stuff. Because like you're going out on a Tuesday and a Monday and a Wednesday, you know what I mean? Like you can't be going out, but you lose the run of yourself so easily.
You do, but then the shipping to the water, like when you're putting on these gigs, and I say if the whole people that come to these gigs are on the water, the bar's not making any money. So then you're not going to get a lot of people down, or like the venue itself.
This
isn't making us money, so why are we doing this? So you kind of have to like encourage people to drink it away, or at least buy like a.
Well, there's non-alcoholic stuff now, which is pretty good.
So don't drink water at the gigs. Buy the non-alcoholics.
Yeah, Heineken Zero. I usually get a Coke Zero because
the Guinness Zero is not bad at all. Like I drank the Guinness Zero a good few times, and you get that like kind of placebo effect that you're still involved, and
the cream.
And no one's looking at you going, "Why are you on the water?" Like you have a pint in front of you, and so you can kind of get away like incognito. Like, I'm pissed. Completely sober, jump in the car and drive home.
That's the thing.
I actually had it before. Like we were doing a gig again in the Barbers. I had about 4 or 5 of the Guinness 00, and then Andy Kelly goes to me, "You okay to drive home?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "What? I had a few pints." Like, "No, man, that was the Guinness 0." So I never drink at those gigs because like I have the car full of equipment. Like I need to bring like the PA system and stuff like that. Like I had this experience where I was drinking Heineken Zeros.
And I was getting into my car and I felt like, Jesus, am I okay to drive? I was like, wait, I was drinking Heineken Zeros, but it fucks with your head.
See, a lot of them do have a high sugar content, so you might be on like a bit of a sugar buzz at the same time.
Yeah.
So you could be like that kind of stimuli as well. Like,
but my brain knows what it's like to like sup a good pint. You know what I mean? So it remembers. But I find, the Guinness, everything's good. I think everything in moderation. That's the whole important thing.
Including moderation.
Yeah, include like who said that? Your man, some Irish playwright actually.
Was it Brendan Behan?
No, I think it could have been. He's a really good guy. He talks about the drink, and there's a real good YouTube video. I'll get it in the show notes.
Link in description.
Link below basilbreen.com. But we've kind of covered a lot now. But I want to kind of go back to I was hoping to begin with this, but we didn't get started. But just the Smithfield Creatives. So you're the founder, one of the founders of the Smithfield Creatives.
The founder, right?
What would you like? Because when you say it's the Smithfield Creatives, because I find it, I can't.
Well, I'll tell you how it all began.
Yes, there we go.
So that'll make it easier than you ask that question. Yeah.
Do my job for me there.
So like during lockdown, I had a friend that lived in Smithfield Square. He lived above Fresh there. And every time I was out on the piss drinking cans or something and we were going back to his house, we'd come across like people on the square like playing trad music, doing a trad session, or there was a cappella groups doing like singing stuff like that. And I was always like, that's really cool. But like I never knew when they were going to be there. So I started talking to them, here, look guys, like I might set up this thing like and be like a middleman. Like if you're down at the square, let me know you're there and I'll promote it. But it didn't really go that way. And I had the idea then on one night and I set up an Instagram page and I called it Smithfield Creatives. And then I wrote a little script of what I wanted to do. And you can find it on the highlights of Instagram. It's the first highlight. I'm sitting there and me and my mate Chris, like we recorded the script and stuff like that. And then I was working as a fishmonger in Bow Street. And across the road is the Capuchin Centre. And Paul Hulme, do you know Paul Hulme?
Yeah, I seen him at one of the gigs actually.
So
he plays with this other guy.
The Behan brothers,
Yeah.
So he used to come in and he was a chef in the Capuchin Centre. So he used to come into the fish shop and like buy fish and bring it over. And we got talking about music and stuff like that. He's like, oh, we should go jam together, play together. I go to him, here, look, I'm setting up this thing called Smithfield Creatives. Do you want to go busking on the square like this Thursday or something like that? We'll just me and you and we'll try to see what happens, right? So we went off, just me and him, and then we got down to Smithfield Square and Benny was there, Benjamin Dozer, the German lad, and he was already busking away. And I was like, oh shit, I was meant to be busking here with Paul. I didn't know what the etiquette was. Like, can we busk beside him? And he saw that I had my cajon with me. He's like, do you want to play? Like, and I was like, yeah, I'll play with you. So I jumped on, I told him the stuff, like what I'm doing. Like, I'm trying to bring people down here. So like the first week there was like 3 of us playing to about 4 or 5 people. I was like, all right, cool, that went really well. So let's come down next week and we'll tell a few more friends, and then word of mouth spread. So the next week then there was like 4 or 5 of us, and then a few more people came down and started witnessing. And then like within, I say 4 weeks, we had a good handful of musicians playing in front of like, I say start off small enough, like 20, 30 people sitting in Smithfield Square, and it just kept growing every week. And then like, because it was lockdown, like we could only do outdoor gigs and it was still safe to be outdoors. And because like there was a certain time limit to it and a certain decibel thing to fight with the Dublin City Council, so we had to do it from like 6:30 to 8:30 kind of thing. Like, so we did that, like, and
craving that,
and then we loved it. It just kept growing. So the initial idea was not to be Smithfield Creatives as it is. It was for other people to do their thing, and I'll tell them what it's about. So it just evolved naturally to where it was. And then when things started opening up, we went to the Cobblestone. And I got everyone that kind of played over the past, I think we started off at the end of August and the Cobblestone gig was in November. So August, September, October, November. So within 4 months, we had, starting off from me and Paul and Benny doing a bit of busking, to having 15 acts on the stage in the Cobblestone. And it was
within 4 months?
Within 4 months. We had 15,
from the streets to
the Cobblestone in 4 months with 15 acts on the stage, poets, comedians, musicians, everybody. Like, the place was packed, well more than the allocated people you were allowed indoors at the time in the one room. Like, there was not a place, there wasn't even standing room. Like, smoke couldn't even fill between you. Like, it was amazing. Like, and Emmett O'Brien come up to me like, "They're like, look around, man." I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, "You did this. Be proud of yourself." I was like, "I did nothing. This is all you guys." I just kind of like
Trying to be not, yeah.
gave people like a space.
Yeah.
Like your talent is doing everything. Like, I said, no, man, you made this happen. And then just kind of grew from there. And then we were lucky enough to get sponsored by Tokyo Kitchen when we were out on the square, because they have a sushi shop right beside where I had the fish shop. So they came out, the owner Phil came out. I was like, oh, you're doing a few bits out there and people are coming down. I was like, yeah, how about I put a table of sushi out there on the square? Like, while you're doing it. So he had a whole sushi table set up, like free sushi. So he was promoting his business and I was able to promote that to bring down. So I was like advertising like tunes, beats and all that and free sushi. So that kind of gathered a bit of momentum. We're working together with that. So it kind of helped his business and it helped us kind of get a foot in the hole and work. And now, like, from there, we've played in the Barber's Bar with a few months there. We did Heinz's Bar. We did the Stony Batter Festival last year. We did Electric Picnic last year. We did a charity gig for Ukraine and Sinead. Since then, like, we've now got a residency in the Jar on Wexford Street every Wednesday.
Yes.
We're going to be doing the Sinead gigs more frequently, hopefully every 2 months. Next one's March 10th. And then hopefully we'll be in a festival or two this summer as well.
Wow.
So and we're going just slightly over a year and we're doing all right for ourselves, like, so like absolutely love it. Like, sometimes it just takes its toll, like obviously like you're trying to organize everything to get stuff like that, but now I've got like 2 people with me. Like, I got Anne the Vagabond Queen, who's been on the podcast before. I have Andy Kelly, and the two of them help me out so much. Like, Andy does the sound on the Wednesday nights, and I can chat to him about it. And like Anne, she's always bouncing ideas off me as well, and I go through things with her. Like, and like the two of them, like, it's nice to have them. Like, there was one time where I couldn't make the last gig of the year because I had to go away for a while, and like Anne just stepped up and like ran the show that night herself. And like,
she was texting me going, do you know how to do sound stuff?
Yeah, because like I had all the equipment in my car, the whole PA system, so I was texting guys down, like, can you help Anne and bring down some speakers and stuff like that, because I couldn't make it. There's no way I could get down, and she just took over. It's nice to have that.
Yeah, just a fallback.
Back on.
That,
say if I was sick or ill, I know
keep
that like
going.
someone else can take care and can keep the show running, which is great. Like, never thought I'd be in a position to do this. And plus, I started playing a bit more music myself, and then I never really did poetry before then. Like, I've always been writing song lyrics and poems and just scribbles and journals since before I was a teenager.
Yes.
And then when I did the first script for the first promotion of Smithfield Creatives, like, we went up to my mate's apartment on top of Fresh, and he's like, oh, what else you have in this book of yours? It's like, oh no, don't be looking at that. And he's like, just a few poems and bits of writings and stuff like that. He's like, what's this one? That's pretty good. Oh, that one's actually pretty good. You should do this like in front of people. It's like, no.
I won't do that now.
And then like there was a time like we were on the square and like there's a changeover between acts. Like they had to set up or someone's guitar had to tune, and I didn't want to be a lull in the moment. I was like, fuck it, I'll do a poem. And then it went down really well, very well received. And it was like, all right, I think I could do a bit of this. Yeah. And some of the poems were terrible. Like, there's 2 or 3 of them that I had written back then that I'll never touch or say out loud again. But I started writing more like with a momentum behind it, with like an actual intention to write something.
What would happen if I took this a bit serious? Yeah,
like, because I've always written just if something came to my head, I'll write it down. I've never planned it. The first time I actually had to plan a poem, my sister was getting married last January. And she goes, I was going to ask you to do a reading at the wedding, but since you're doing a bit of poetry, do you want to write me a poem for the wedding? And I was like, yes, but also have a reading as a backup just in case this poem is shit. Yes. So like I was struggling with it, like, because like she lives in Australia, and like her partner, now husband, is over in Australia. He's also an Irishman from Cork. Like, so it's like, right, what do I know about their relationship and how things are happening? I was like, right, so I just jotted down a few ideas. I ended up going to Slattery's on Capel Street and writing it down. And then I asked Emmett O'Brien to come give me a dig out. He's like, I'll see that here. You can speed up there. You can slow down there. You can take that out and do this. I was like, oh, thanks very much. And then like end up doing the poem like during the service of our wedding, and like tear in her eye and everything like that.
Way.
His side of the family came up and started shaking my hand, and so like I'm gonna get it framed for her and
beautiful.
like send it off to her in Australia as a thank you gift. I was gonna do it for the first anniversary, but Christmas time is always January. It's always too much stuff to do.
Yeah, I know.
So eventually
you'll get it eventually.
Yeah, you get it eventually, Ali. It's on the way somewhere along with other things I'm sending you. But yeah, so like because of Smithfield Creatives, I've become more creative in a way, which has kind of helped me, and it's also been like quite cathartic for me as well to write the poems. And like when like say like the winter break that we had there, like November, December, or not December, January, where we weren't doing gigs, it felt like there was something missing. I was like, I kind of got into a bit of a lull, like mentally and stuff like that. I was like, oh, what's missing? And then like when we got back to the jar, I was like, all right, yeah, we're back to everything. Like, automatically, like, boom, spurred me up. Like, oh, I missed having that purpose of like doing gigs, organising the gigs,
witnessing
and
everything, the whole thing.
the whole everything. Like, and the community is so lovely because like before. Because I never did anything like this before. Like, I played gigs when I was a teenager in bands, doing a bit of drumming and a bit of singing, but never did anything like that other than a bit of busking. And before I started doing Smithfield Creatives, I think the way this scene was, other open mic nights were always in competition with each other.
Yes.
And like, I didn't like that because like we're all literally doing it for the same reason. We're all trying to promote grassroots art and culture from Ireland. And Ireland's a small community. There's no need to be in competition with each other.
What are we doing? Like,
so like the likes of the circle sessions and the flow show, like we're always like talking to each other, bouncing to like, oh look, I do this on the Wednesday night. You have the circle sessions on the Monday night. You got a flow show on the Tuesday night. Like, go to this show, go to that, they're great. Go to that show, they're great. And like, I'll show up to the shows. And if I see someone at circle sessions, here, look, if you want to come down to my night, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, look, if you can't come down to my night,
just
go to circle sessions, go to the flow show.
And then sometimes people have gigs on the nights at Smithfield, but it's like, oh, there's also this thing in Dashies. There's also this thing. But yeah, it's just about...
So I started doing it like because some of the people that came down in the early days, like, were more accomplished musicians that I'd ever thought come down to like doing a bit of a gig on Smithfield Square. And then when things started opening up, they started doing their own gigs, like the likes of Joe Skylark, Luke Clerkin and stuff like that. So I just started like, because they came down and played with me, like I go, oh, they've got a gig on, I'll throw it up on the Instagram page and like let people know when their gigs are on. And then it just kind of happened, like I was doing that for a lot of the gigs, and then like when circle sessions and flow shows, like, well, I'm going to promote them as well because we're all literally doing the same thing.
You're all
like,
in the same ecosystem. So if you make that ecosystem better, then the world that you live in gets better. It's something that I keep touching back to, and I want people to just realize this, is that there's no real competition. If you're in a particular industry, in a particular place, if you have that mentality of, oh, we can't promote them or this and that, then you're reducing the growth of that ecosystem.
You're hindering yourself.
You're hindering yourself. And
obviously try to do whatever like project you're doing. Try to make that the best that you can do. But don't compare yourself to other things that are going or similar to you.
There's so much room in the world.
There's so much room. Because like there's other things like the House of Emerald. They're doing great things. Like you got like Fiona and Daly. They've got like the Blue Velvet Nights. They got the Emerald Sessions. They got there's a third one that I just can't.
But that's what we want to see. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like, and we've helped each other out like with like sound equipment and stuff like that. Like they call me, oh look, do we need a sound desk and stuff like that? Like and Devin O'Riordan, he has like the fireside sessions and stuff like that. Like, and we're all just bouncing to each other's gigs as well. Like, and like I love that sense of community. Like, because we've created a lovely community of artists and stuff like that. And it's not like a clique or anything that anybody can come in and join us. Like, and like there's so many things. Like, we had a girl come down to the Jar a few weeks back just before Christmas, like, and it was her first ever time on the stage, like, and it was her mother that contacted me.
I was there.
Yeah. Oh, you were there.
Yes.
So it was her mother that contacted me through Facebook. It's like, oh look, my daughter wants to come down and she's never done anything this before. She's kind of nervous. Like, here, look, come on in. We'll make sure she feels comfortable.
Brilliant. You were like, now it's going to be her first time. She's going to be on. Like before, you were getting people ready to support her, which was brilliant.
She was incredible. She did a cover of Adele, and everyone was just like, blown
she did
away.
Cover as well. I forget what it was.
Yeah, and she's coming down this Wednesday for the first one back. She'll be back this Wednesday, and can't wait to see her again. Like, and like we got other bands coming down. We got Wizard Fruit.
Wizard Fruit, they're twins.
They're twins.
I didn't know. That's so cool, man.
So like my best mate like is going out with their sister.
Okay.
Yeah, and like they're going, oh, like, and I've met Ushi and one of the guys all together now. It's like, oh, you play a bit of music. It's like, what music you play? Oh, there's a bit of this bit. I'm like, come down to the Smithfield Creatives, like, and do it out. I was like, oh, what? Seriously? Like, I was like, yeah, come out. And like, they've been going out busking and all since then. They come down to us 2 or 3 times now. They've got a featured act with the Circle Sessions on Monday, and then they got a featured act with us on the Wednesday.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be a good week for them. Like,
on Wednesday, man.
And like, they come from a musical family. Like, their father was in the Commitments in the movie, like.
Whoa!
Yeah. So like, I should not touch that button.
So
like,
you're gonna ruin the whole show.
Ruin this magical.
Wait to start again.
This levitating table, like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. Like, and we've had like some rappers that come down. There's a fella. Oh, what was his name? See, I meet people.
I know,
like,
so many.
Like, I've got like a list of about
must be
700 people. I
insane.
have like literally every person's name that ever performed on a list on my phone.
Oh
and it's
my
gone well
goodness.
over like the 150, 200 mark now at this
Tattoo it
stage.
on your back.
Yeah, maybe one day. Like just a lot of random names.
Yeah, you ruined your whole thing. But anyway, sorry. Yeah, there's been loads of rappers. One guy who I liked was this guy, real tall guy, Draco.
Draco, yeah.
He was cool. It's just seeing people. It's seeing people coming down and coming out of their shell in a way.
Speaking of coming out of the shell, like some of the people that came down, like Annie Peter for one of the best poets now, though. I'm like,
Of all time.
seeing her come down once, very kind of like shy, but like the content of her poetry was always incredible. But like watching her come from like having that content to having a stage presence, and her stage presence now is incredible. Like Sequiva Weekly, like she came down and did her first gig with us in the Barbas Bar, and like her first time blew us all away. And now she's like between like the top three. Like I think my favorite poets at the moment in Ireland would be Emma O'Brien, Quiva, and Annie. Like they are fantastic. And like Emma's been doing it years, but Quiva and Annie have only been doing it roughly a year or so. And to watch their growth within a year from starting off at the open mic, like she's doing her own shows and stuff like that is amazing. I love seeing that like transition from like doing like a 5-minute, 10-minute slot to doing their own gigs. Like so what we have like with Smithfield Creatives, like we'll have booked in acts that'll do like their 10-minute slot. We'll have the half an hour featured slot, and then we have like 5-minute slots for walk-ins. So you can see the progression like from like, oh, they came in for the 5 minutes of the walk-in, then the next time round they'll do the 10-minute slot, and then after a few of them they go to the half an hour slot, and then after that maybe we'll give them the showcase and Sinead, or else to go on their own. So you can see the growth of each individual artist on the way up. Like
just on that point, right? Because I remember when I was first gearing up to start going to these open mics, because I seen the first person I seen was Neve from
Neve Murphy.
I seen a post. And it was one of her original songs. Some of her songs are brilliant, like
so good, like
Arrowtown and it's hot weather. She like when I seen that, I just thought, oh my god, there's people. She's out here. Like for me, that's a song worthy of like the top. Like for my personal taste, when I seen that, I was blown away, and that I was like, who the fuck is that? And then that made me just. I was looking at the Smithfields page then. And then I remember the first night I had to get down. It's so you might think I was shitting myself, man, to come in, and because I just I don't really have before this I didn't have any like musical friends. You know what I mean? This was kind of like a solo endeavor, but I knew that was the next stage of growth for me, was going to these open mics. But when I seen that, okay, there's open mics, then there's kind of the guest slot, and then there's the feature set, whatever. So I was like, that's a real cool psychological play, like in a way in my head, because okay, if I go to this and I keep going, I could work my way up and I could improve. And then I've that, my own story has been that, like, and then getting in and like getting better at performing as well, and getting more, because I busked, but there's a different type of confidence. And then yous are brilliant in at the Smithfields because you're so supportive. Like it's really I find when I'm there, like it's just a beautiful place to be.
See, like performing, like everybody's vulnerable.
Yes.
And like we've all been vulnerable at some point in our lives. Like I suffer with depression and stuff like that, like through my whole life since before I was a teenager. So I know what it's like to be nervous and to be vulnerable. And I hate for other people to feel like that. So like to give people like that little bit of confidence, that little like pat in the back, it's like, look, like these are good, because like there's so much talent in people, and like when they feel confident, it oozes out of them. So like you have to support, like, and it's not like me just kind of blowing smoke up their ass. Like I might critique some people, but I hate doing it. Like it's like, oh, maybe you should try this, or maybe you should try that, but I try to do it in a nice way. But 9 times out of 10, like the people blow me away. Like I'm like, fuck my life. Like I'm always make sure to go up and talk to every single person on the night, like before they get on, after they come off, at the end of the night. I always make sure to shake their hand and say thank you, and give them that. And like, if they're nervous, I'll sit down and have a chat with them beforehand. Like, look, no need to be nervous. We're all fucking idiots at the same time.
Exactly.
Like we're all just chances at the end of the day. So like, might as well do
Everyone's
it. Like
winging it.
Yeah, we're all winging it. Even the most accomplished people in the world, they're winging it. Even like you always used to look up to your parents. They have everything on their way. Like, no, they're winging it as well. Like life's just a bunch of chances trying to get by, you know.
That's such a good one, because we are everyone, like there's no one that has everything figured out, and at every moment we're just doing the best with whatever our current consciousness, like that current frame that we're in. So it's very just like, it is what it is in the moment. But it's about encouragement is such a powerful tool, because you'd be so surprised as we grow up throughout our lives. we're actually, I found, like with singing, I used to sing when I was about 10 or 11 in churches and stuff.
Me too, actually.
And
Yeah, I
then,
used to do the choirs.
Oh, no way. But
Ave Maria. Okay, you can do it. I can't sing.
I used to be like, right, hold on, stop, hold that thought, right? But, but then it wasn't, I was very social, so I could understand that, singing wasn't in my head, I made this judgment that singing wasn't a cool thing, so I stopped going to that, I started drinking and stuff, and then it was only years later when I was about 24 that I picked up the guitar, and even when I started singing, I was so scared to sing in front of people, but it hadn't been, encouraging, like if I had been encouraged a bit when I was younger.
Like growing up, like I was always into like singing, arts, music, acting. I always kind of like, my mom used to say, oh, you're destined for the stage, right? But never gave me the encouragement to get to the stage. Like, oh no, get yourself a real job, do
that's the thing.
Do the science and business subjects in school. Like, don't do music, don't do arts. But that's what I'm interested in. So I was always stifled in a way. And then like when I was growing up before, like I was hanging around with like people from Blanche that wouldn't have been like very creative. They would have been like, the hat at 90 degrees, tracksuit bottoms and stuff like that. So if you're anyway, if you're anyway creative, like, that's bleeding gay, that is.
Yeah, that's gay. That's the worst.
And I was like, it's like, look. And then like, so you're kind of like, oh, you're embarrassed to be who you were. Like,
I know.
And then like, it's only now in my 30s that I'm actually coming out and doing the things that I've always wanted to do, which is be involved in creativity in some aspect, whether it be writing, performing, or hosting shows, or putting on shows, or giving people their chance to grow. Like, I just love everything about it. I love the community. I love the stage. I love supporting people. I love listening to art. I love going to gigs. I love listening to poetry. Like, I would never be a big reader of poetry or anything like that, but I love live poetry. I love seeing people like put their heart and soul out in front of you, like especially when it comes to music. I've always had like this empathy towards music and musicians where you just relate and you just feel everything. Like, and it's really, really good for me and good for the soul. Like, I've always just loved music. Like, first Halloween I ever dressed up, and I remember I dressed up as Michael Jackson, like that kind of way. Like, I grew up on like a lot of pop songs, Billy Joel, Garth Brooks. Then my mum introduced me to Rory Gallagher, and that changed my life. And then as you become a teenager, you get into like more rock and roll, like the likes of Nirvana, Metallica and stuff like that. But like, I still love a bit of Five, Slam Dunk the Funk.
Oh, like, man. Let it all in.
Bit of swing. Like, I will never diss, like, I'll diss a bad song, but I'll never diss a genre, I love absolutely everything. Like,
well, when I hear a song, the way I see it now, I just say, oh, that's not my taste, actually. But there's loads of things that aren't my taste. There's loads of things that aren't your taste. You know what I mean?
But that's the beauty of it. Like, it's all subjective and it's all like bespoke to your taste.
Exactly.
Like, kind of way, like,
but
if we all like the same thing, it'd be crap. Because like then, like,
you have something that's your absolute favorite thing, and I'd be like, oh, it's all right. But then I have my favorite thing, and you're probably like, oh, that's all right. Like, but we're not. The point is that like we're just individuals with different tastes.
That's it, and you need that. You need that variety in life. You need that. Otherwise, like, we don't need to have like one genre of music, and we don't need to have like one type of film. Like,
Exactly.
Like, it's like you need to have it. The range.
When you understand that, like, people say, oh, that's a bad song or that's bad. It's just like, oh no, that's just not my taste. But
I know, but sometimes there is bad songs.
Well,
like,
some of them aren't like, but they don't cohere to the rules of, let's say, a song. Let's say they're too because let's say there's an infinite selection of notes, right? And you can put them in an infinite order. So, but there is an order out of them, that infinite selection that is musical, let's say. Or like that coheres to rules.
Outwardly pleasing to you.
But there's other selections that are just like you know what I mean? And very, like, they're not so, but it's hard because even, like, let's say real heavy metal, right? I can get down to it, but I've never gone out of my way to kind of listen to it. But I know people that love
same thing when it comes to metal. I love like metal, like, to a certain aspect, but like the screaming vocals, wouldn't be a huge fan of that. But I can see the attraction to it, that kind of way.
The energy
and I love going to
brilliant.
metal gigs. But like, again, it wouldn't be the thing that I would look for when I'm at home listening to music. Like when it comes to like the metal I'd listen to, be like of like Metallica, Pantera and stuff like that. It would never be like the screamo stuff,
It's screamo.
Yeah. Like,
is that a genre?
I think, like like with the lads,
heard it
like,
here
a
first.
couple of my mates like that I played with, like I go, oh, there's just metal, and it's like, no, there's like 12 different subgenres of metal, and it's like, yeah, it's all the same to me, but like it's not like you'd have like these fans that like, no, you need to do this, that, and that, like you need to have this subgenre, that subgenre. It's like, see, that's a bit over my head, but like when it comes to pop music and stuff like that, I was like, oh well, no, that's this. So like again, it's down to your own taste, and like the more energy and time you put into something, the more you're learning from it. Like, so I didn't put that time and energy into the broader side of metal, but I would have done it into different genres, like especially pop music. Like I'm a big pop fiend.
I know, I love pop, man.
Pop, rock and blues and stuff like that, like Debbie White thing, and then like mad into like some psychedelic folk as well, like that. Like I love that. A fella called Devendra Banhart pretty much changed my life. Absolutely incredible. Back when I had my long hair and stuff like that, I used to think I was a little hippie, you know.
I'm becoming the hippie now.
Still have the hippie heart, but like I've changed I've changed my aesthetic a little bit. Like, you know.
Yeah, he's more clean shaven now. You kind of have a little acting head on you. You were saying that you really got into a bit of acting.
Nearly got into a bit of acting. Yeah, so I did like an open day in the Gate School of Acting. Absolutely loved it. And they asked me to do the full-time course, but I couldn't give myself the time. But I'm trying maybe this year to try to get into a bit more of it. Like, you know, Shiv Hickey, she runs like After Midnight Theatre, and she's got her own company.
I haven't met her yet, but I've read some of her stuff.
Oh,
brilliant.
man, she's an absolute...
Yeah, she looks like a powerhouse of energy.
She's an absolute powerhouse of energy.
And confidence.
Hardest working woman I've ever met in my life, and she's just so nice.
Yes.
And she has her finger in everybody. She's an incredible poet.
Yes.
Incredible writer.
She worked, like,
Incredible
it's just constant.
I'm doing it all as a single mother, and she's just so lovely as well.
No way!
And she has like 2-3 jobs at the same time. Like I don't know where she finds the time. Like, but like,
man, I need to get her on the podcast.
She works for a company called Fuel, and like she's given me like the opportunity to do like, they're not acting gigs, but they're kind of like playing a character. Like, so I did like the Facebook Christmas party this year.
Oh, you're saying,
where I dressed up as a ski instructor because the theme for their Christmas party was après ski. So I had to go around to all the Facebook staff and like get pictures, taking them in the gear, like get them to interact with the games and stuff they had on. And then when the band came on, I had to pull them up and start dancing with them and just kind of do that. Like just kind of be like the hype man for the day. And I love that. Like it's just like getting paid to be a buzzer kind of thing. Like, I did like acting in school, like for shows and stuff like that, because I did transition year and we put on a show every couple of months, and then when I was in the Gale Talk we did some shows, and like always loved kind of like playing characters and doing characters. I haven't dived into it as much as I really want to. It's something that I'm going to try do more this year and next year, dive into a bit more of the acting, because I just find it really interesting to play different characters, because myself, I'm a bit of a social chameleon. I could normally fit into like any conversation or any group around the table. I can mingle around between like the scumbags and the stuff like that, and could fit in and find like a certain thing and like subtly change the tone of my voice when I'm around there, and then I go to the rockers or something like that. I can go to the preppies or anything like that, and like you can just kind of mirror. You can mirror, you can engage, and you can stuff like that. And I always found that really interesting of the characters. You can, it's not being disingenuous or something like that. It's just more like
everyone changes
having
who
a
you are.
common ground that you can find.
If you're sitting here with your mother, you're a different person. If you're sitting here with your brother, if you're sitting here with like a particular friend, like our relationship, whatever we are to each other, that's something that we're bringing out of each other, that we only can bring out of each other, and you have that with everybody in a way. And what you're describing there is just it's just looking for the middle ground. Like when I'm with people,
like a social intelligence in a way where you just kind of like,
because what I always try to look for is, what do I want to get into? Because I just keep like I'm not constantly thinking, okay, like try to form, like construct this in a way where I can get in, but it's more like, okay, I'm just really interested, so I'll keep asking questions, and then eventually I'll be like, no way you did acting, or no way you're like, what is the story with the cajon, like what's going on? But you can find that with everybody has something to bring, and if you just,
everybody has so much depth to them. Like, so once you scratch underneath the surface of someone's personality, like it's beautiful to just to kind of get to know people. And like I find it hard to hold on to like long-term like social relationships, but I'm great at like meeting new people and engaging them and like talking to them and then finding out who they are, and then like, not that I get bored or anything like that, I'm just excited to meet the next person.
Looking for that next fix.
That's it, literally, to fix it, of like meeting interesting people
I
and finding
know.
out where they come from, what's their story, like how can I
Yes.
relate to them, and where their life is taken and what journey they've been on. I'm mad interested
Yeah,
in
there's only
people's
so much
journeys.
time
Like,
we can give to the world as well. Like, so that's why I like this podcast, because we've had this conversation now, and then also I'll listen back to it. So it's like we've had two conversations then. You know what I mean? And because it's being recorded, it makes it so like I've talked about this before, but it pushes the conversation forward in a way. Like you know that you can, like, you're here to speak and try to give value and give your story, and I'm here to try and like have a good, whatever a good conversation is, so that kind of subconscious element pushes the conversation forward. So this is actually a way to really get to know people in a way, because we're
I
both
didn't know what to expect coming up here today. Like, I knew you'd ask me a little bit about Smithfield Creatives, but other than that, I was like, I'll just have a chat with Basil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I knew. I stopped thinking too much about these things. Like, I do have notes, just general gist, but I just realised that the conversation kind of takes care of itself. But I just want to get back to kind of your because your stage presence. You have a sort of, there's this kind of like level-headed confidence as well in your even in your poetry. Like when you go from hosting to poems, there's like the energy is kind of this, it's like this kind of like there's like a stoic kind of energy. I can't really explain it, but it's just real, like blah 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 blah. Like you're not up, you're not too down. You're just like, it's just like confident in a way.
Yeah, like I just kind of like when it comes to the poetry, I kind of feel like it's a storytelling thing. Like, because I like kind of like. I've changed, like, most of the time now, and if I'm doing poetry at a gig, I'll sit on a stool and kind of sit down, because if I'm looking up my phone, I don't want to be standing there like that. Like, so if I'm sitting on a stool, I can glance down, and it's more like, oh, I'm just going to tell a story, but in a certain way. Like, when it comes to hosting, I just kind of want people to relax and have no pressure, and then like basically like hosting it, I try to focus on the individual artist that was on before or coming up next, and trying to like whatever I know about them, whatever they're coming up, and kind of like
because you have to think of something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, I used to like, I don't know, like I used to try write like a little brief on people, but then once I get to know the people and stuff like that, like I'll ask them a few questions here. Have you got anything coming on? And I'll just add a little bit, you know, because like if it comes out naturally, it's more natural and it feels regular. Like if you try plan it and structure it, it goes out the window. Yeah, I just want people to feel relaxed and have fun. That's basically it. Like, as long as they're confident to get up on stage and they feel at home, they feel comfortable, that's what makes me happy, you know?
So with the original kind of thing that you did outside, like how did what did hosting that look like?
It's just me standing behind the mic and going, right,
so, this is what was the first few times? Like, what was that like?
First few times was cool, because like I was playing most of the time with every guitarist that came up. I was playing the box, and I go up and say that was Andy Kelly or that was Paul Home, give him a round of applause for that, and just kind of, it felt natural to me. It felt like I was doing it forever, even though I hadn't. You know, it just felt normal, and it was like I would have been very nervous about doing things a lot of the time, even going into certain places and there's too many people. I'd always be a bit anxious and stuff like that. But behind the mic, I always felt a certain kind of comfort, you know, because like, oh, it's not me, it's some sort of persona, but it's not really persona. It's just who I am comfortable with. It's just like, I can just talk now. I can, like, people are listening to me. I don't have to fight for the attention, you know, like I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I'm here, and I'm not really talking about myself so much. It's more like I'm talking about other people and supporting them. So like, even though like the spotlight's on me, it's not on me necessarily, because I'm talking about something else and someone else, and or an artist,
it's like
or an
shining
art.
you, but then you're deflecting it somewhere else.
Yeah, like I'm promoting something else, whether it be the night itself or the artist or the individual or the act it's on. Like it's not like, and then I start doing my poems, it's more like, sure, look, would you like a poem or something like that? Like, you know, it's more like,
but that's what I mean. It's just you seem just so relaxed. Like you're real relaxed. You don't seem like anything fade. You don't get real
I smoked
phased.
a lot of weed growing up. So.
That just made me more anxious.
I don't do it so much anymore. Like I have the odd drag there, but like, I think that might have helped as well. Like kind of level it out. But like my mother always said, if you're any more laid back, you'd fall over, kind of thing. So,
I just feel like you're not phased.
No, not at all. No, look, as I get older, I kind of think like life's there to be lived. Like we're all going to fucking die eventually. Not to be like real nihilistic
but
about
that's
it.
that's
but like
the
you might as
reality.
well enjoy it. Like you know, you do it. Like all you need really in life is food in your belly, roof over your head, and that's it. Like
an empty bladder every now and again.
That's it. Like, but like you don't need much more than that in life. Like, I can survive on very little as long as I can have a bed to sleep in and I'm fed. Other than that, like, it's just a joy.
Exactly. From every moment to a moment, your needs, like your biological needs, are either being met or they're not. and you're only really have the moment. The pain comes from projection into the future or ruminating on the past. I think obviously this is like general, just meditative information, but it's just if you actually look at if you actually just realize that your experience on from every frame to the next is just it is just an experience of like whatever the feeling of having a body is, having a brain, whatever, and like so you don't need anything really that's out there as in abstract ideas like money. Well, obviously money is something that you need up to a certain level. Yeah, obviously, like
you need to be able to survive. You need to be able to feed yourself.
Yeah, because I've been very poor kind of growing up, and the stress around money that it would cause in the family is horrendous when, even you're just looking for a bit of change to go out with, like to get, like I used to save my lunch money to get cans and stuff, you know what I mean? And it causes like the fight, like who took this and all this. It's like, but when money is kind of, when you don't have to worry about money, that's one big thing I think with the creative work that people do. And I'm in a good position now where I'm working and I have the real good balance at the moment. But there's so many brilliant people out there. Like, for example, not that it was with money, but I remember Luke Clerkin, he was struggling to find a place for a while. Yeah. And that's something like outside of the music stuff. So that's
something that we can't control.
Exactly, we can't control. The stress of trying to find a place. Like, imagine that for that whole period. Now, obviously, that could add to his art. You know what I mean? But during that period, I imagine that it's just hard to be creative or hard to care about the music.
You're focused on trying to find a place to live.
You want to survive. Yeah. So all these external factors, whether it be money or just living situations, like they have such an impact. And that's why it's so, when you see so many musicians out there and they're pursuing it, like I just respect them so much because it's not something that's very like, it's not really the idea of it being lucrative is like would be a fucking miracle, but it's like
and it's not lucrative.
No, exactly. Even at the lower levels. Like
I was lucky enough, I was a chef for 15 years, and I was lucky enough to be able to put a few quid away over the years and stuff like that. And then I got out of chefing because it was just took too much toll on the mind and the body.
Hours, man.
Yeah, like I was working 60, 70 hour weeks, like all day, every weekend, every night.
That's
kind of thing.
That's probably why you're good with stress or or just calm.
Oh yeah, no, but no, I was mad. Like stress took its toll on me.
You had the highest level of stress, but so now everything is just numb.
No, that's it. Like I've been through the worst. Let's say, like
so it's like this is grand.
This is easy. Like so, I got the job as a fishmonger, which got me through lockdown and stuff like that. But I wasn't happy getting up to work and doing a job that I had no real interest in. And then I fell into a huge hole of depression there this time last year, and I'm still suffering with it on a daily basis. Before that gig on Friday, I literally only got out of bed at 6 p.m. and I had to be at the gig at 7. These kind of days, and they're happening more frequently now than they've ever happened. Wow. But I'm on meds now, which definitely aren't working at all. It was a lot better without them, so I've talked to my doctor, I tried to wean them off. But getting back to the point, lucky enough, I was able to put a bit of money aside while I was chefing. So I got a nest egg I can fall back on. So when I was struggling, being able to get up for work and doing the job without getting too down on myself, I was like, right, this is not for me. So I packed the job in. So I've no actual full-time 9 to 5.
Yes.
I got a handful of savings I can fall back on, and then I make a little bit of money, not a lot, because whatever money I make from doing the gigs, most of it goes back into the artists themselves.
And travel and
no, there's I pay off some equipment.
Yes.
I give money to the featured acts. I give money to the guys who work with me, Anne and Andy, and I take a little cut myself. So out of the money, I think I'll probably get maybe 20-25%. Same with the Sinead gigs, I'll probably take less than that, because I think we give about 70 to 80% of the money to the acts, and then I split that other 20 to 30% myself, Anne and Andy.
Just get a little bit here.
Just a little bit, but if I have money to give to any up and coming act, I make sure they get it. But I was lucky enough that I have that nest egg to fall back on, and I'm lucky enough that I have a trade to fall back on. So I'm giving myself a year or two of diving into this creative scene and see how far I can get. Yes. And in the past year, it's gone pretty well for the first year of it. So hopefully this year, 2023,
you're in a good position to take a chance.
We can do something else. But I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have the nest egg or the security of that. And plus, I've got a safe house for the moment, which the rent is not too high, especially for where I'm living and Dublin. I'm paying next to nothing compared to what people are paying. So I'm lucky enough that I could survive my rent on the dole, that kind of way, and still feed myself. So that way, I know people are paying double what I'm paying for a room. in
So
Dublin.
you're in a good spot at the
Yeah, so
moment.
I'm
So,
in a good
that's the
spot.
thing. Like
Yeah.
life, I'm in a good spot now, but obviously, life is long and full of speed bumps and
And
everything.
death
So
is instant.
yeah. So you have to actually make the most out of your good opportunity, because this is the way I see it as well. There's people in this world that would fucking kill to be in your situation, even though you might think sometimes it's a struggle or whatever. The fact that you're able to even pursue this in some way, or the fact that you're able to live.
I would have loved to have done it like coming straight out of school. I would have loved to have done it, but I don't think I was ready to do it coming straight out of school. Like I'm 34 now, so I'm if I don't do it now, like I'm
Yes.
never going to do it. So it's
Yes.
always like while I'm still relatively young and fit and healthy, I'm
Yes.
going to give it like a year or two and
See
if
what happens.
See what happens. If
Yeah.
it doesn't work, I'll try and get a job and something I hate.
That's what I'm doing right now. Like I'm going to be 32 this year, so I'm like, oh, this is my time to pursue this music, because who knows? You might not that you might get too like I'd always want to pursue it, but this might be the only time where I can really go hell for leather. You know what I mean? So you have to make the most out of that opportunity, and it's
But
great.
at the same time, like there's no definitive timeline for anyone to do it. Like
No,
people
no.
will be at different levels of their life
Yes.
at different ages. Like there's a great fella, John C6 Steve.
No.
Blues artist, only really made it big when he turned into his like late 50s, 60s.
Yeah,
and he's
yes.
huge. Like, but he was like what he called a hobo back in the day, like jumping from train to train around America playing guitar and stuff like that. Like, but he only came to the forefront in his 60s. Like,
Oh, yeah.
the like of Colonel Sanders that does KFC,
Yes,
he made it in his
yes.
60s like that.
Oh yeah,
There's no timeline.
There's
like,
no time and age is an illusion. The only full stop is when you die.
Yeah.
So before you die,
as long as you can put your 2 feet on the ground as soon as you get out of
you
bed.
need to start doing the thing, and don't use. We use age as an excuse to not do the thing. We put blocks in our own head instead of just.
We put our own man-made hurdles in front of us.
Yes.
There's no need to like you can do absolutely anything if you put your
Yes.
mind to. Like, and I suffer like tremendously with anxiety to go, what am I doing? And how am I going to get there? Where am I going to be? And then like when it actually gets out and I'm actually doing it, it becomes, oh, this is natural. This is easy.
fine,
This is
yes.
fine. But like the build up to it, there's a lot of anxiety to it. It's like, oh crap, where am I going to do it? Is that going to come with this? How am I going to do it? And then like if I get one little hiccup, like say one of the venues, like, oh look, sorry, this is your last. This is your last week in this venue. It's like, oh shit, I would have loved for a bit more notice so I can plan something else, and that will give me a kick back and like, oh crap, it really all worked as well. And
then you're thinking,
and you're ruminating on that
Jesus,
for too
maybe it's not-
long,
maybe
and
it's not
maybe
worth it,
not. And
maybe
then all of a
it's
sudden you get a bit of confidence from somewhere. Someone might say something nice to you. It's like, right, no, let's
so
get.
you'd say it to somebody, and it's like, oh, have you tried this? Have you tried that? It's like,
And like talking to people, like I've got a real group of real solid friends that I've met through Smithfield Creatives that I know will be friends for life.
Yes.
And I know they have my back through the thick and thin, which I wouldn't have known a year and a half ago, you know, the kind of way. And they're beautiful people and I love it. And they're giving me the kick in the ass to keep going because like, they're like, Adam, look
relax.
what you've done for people. Like you've done so much. Like
look at what you've come. Like the way you have to see it as well. Confidence in yourself comes from proving to yourself what you can do. So you've already proven you've taken something from like basically planting a seed, like to growing this beautiful tree that's still growing. You know what I mean? And even getting up and hosting. And you've seen the movie of your life. You've seen you doing things, so that should give you more confidence in that. Okay, well, I can also do other things, but you have to, before you earn that confidence. There's a period where you haven't done the thing.
You got to earn your stripes.
You have to earn your stripes.
You got to learn along the way. Like I've never done anything like Smithfield Creatives for. Never done any like events. Like when I was working in hotels, I used to be in charge of the conference and banqueting for chefs. I used to organize, like I used to have like teams of chefs below me and stuff like that. So I was able to manage like kitchens and stuff like that. I was able to like delegate and organize. So I had that kind of aspect of things, but I never knew anything about like the music industry or open mic scenes or creativity like that. I'm literally learning every single day.
Yes.
And people that help me out, like, oh, could you do this and do that and blah, blah, blah. Like there's sound equipment that I have in the back of my car that I know nothing about. Like I know I have it. I know the basics, but like I'm learning on the way, you know, the kind of way.
Yeah.
And I'm learning every single day about new things, about how to do things, like learning about managing people, managing bands and stuff like that. That's something I'd love to get into, be managing bands as well.
That'd be brilliant, actually. You have that manager head on you, man.
Yeah, like if I had a band I could manage, I'd love that. And there was an opportunity once or twice that came up, but it just didn't
That'd be cool,
work out.
man.
But that'd be another like feather to the hat eventually.
Yes.
Like, but we'll see what happens
And then it's
there.
also adding into what you're enjoying, like,
Yeah.
you know, meeting new people, getting their stories, and supporting the art, supporting the music. It's all part of the same kind of thing. But what you're doing now is a transferable skill to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Booking gigs, but getting venues, like meeting people, like, and you're building a network.
Yeah.
Networking is so important.
That's it. It's literally just having the gift of the gab and chatting to people and just being sound.
Yeah,
that's it.
Just be sound.
Just be sound. Just don't be a dick. Like,
don't be a dick.
That's
it's
it.
such
like,
an important
and like,
rule.
of course, you're gonna make mistakes. You might rub some people up the wrong way. Like,
don't need to tell me.
Yeah, like nobody's fucking perfect,
Yes.
and my name's not nobody. You know that kind of way.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. No, but that's not, look, it's brilliant, because you're always going to be improving on this road. And I just want to get back a little bit, because you touched on, so like for me, like depression, I've never really I've had down moments in my life where very nihilistic, very kind of just like but I don't think what people have described as depression and the way you're describing it, where it kind of comes in bouts or whatever, I don't think I've ever experienced what that actually is. So for you, what does that word even mean?
it's different for every single person. I've been dealing with it since I was about 12 years old, and it comes in waves like of really tough times to really high times. And the tough times, it's literally lack of motivation, like basically very hard to get out of bed, even to use the bathroom. Like some days I go without eating because I'm too afraid to go downstairs and bump into someone, because I don't know if I want to meet someone or talk to them. So like I'd hide in my room, and then like the first time I eat might be at 1 o'clock in the morning when I know everyone's asleep, you know, that kind of way. And I could do that for like weeks on end, like, and then I can come out of it and kind of like ease myself back into life. It like there's been times where it's been very dark times where you contemplate things that you shouldn't really contemplate.
Yes.
And I've been in those low times, and yes, I've gone to counselling. I've tried all the aspects. So I've been dealing with it since, as I said, since before I was a teenager. And I've gone to counselling, I've done the exercise, I've done the diets. Recently, within the past, since last May, I think it was, I started like taking pills for it.
Yeah.
I had to change pills. The first one weren't working, these ones aren't working. And like, you have to find your own way of dealing with things. But the trick is just don't beat yourself up over it. Like if you're going through a rough time, go through it. Like allow yourself to feel the lows,
Yes.
because like you can't go wish your way out of it. You'll have to accept
if you
that
don't resist in a way
you
too
gotta,
much.
even if the lows last long, because sometimes they might last a week, sometimes they might last 6 months, sometimes they might last 6 years. Like each wave hits you harder and in a different way. But the idea behind it, you know that it's just time. Everything will stop. Like I think Tom Hanks said this like in an interview he did. It's like the bad times, they only last a certain level of time, like, and then they'll stop.
Yes.
Then you get into the good times. Well, they'll only last a certain
everything's
time.
last.
Like they'll only last a certain time and then it'll stop. So you have to realize it's literally just a waiting game. And the more you ruminate on it, the more you get into it. Like you can bring yourself lower and lower, but you kind of have to make the first steps yourself. Like there's things that there's a few things that I know that work for me, which would be diet, water intake, exercise, and sleep routine. Those 4 things would keep me on top of things.
Yes.
If I take my foot off the pedal on one of them, I'm all right. If 2 of them slip, I know I'm slipping. But I don't know till it's too late.
Yes.
You know, the kind of way. And like, I got friends and family who are very supportive, which I'm so lucky for. I got really good friends that like I've been there for me and be able to talk to about. Like I know that a lot of men don't have that kind of support and community. Not to say that because I have that, it makes it any less hard or easy, but like
But it's something.
It's something there. I know that like I live with one of my best mates. I know that if I really am stuck, I can just like send them a text, man. It's like, here, look, do you want to go to the gym or go for a climb or something? Just at least get me out with a gaff, or else go for a walk with me or something like that. You know, just get out. Like a couple of mates like from the creative community, especially Luke Clerk, and he's been a good rock for me over the past year. With because like he himself goes through his ups and downs, but like that's his story to tell and not mine. But like he's been there. Like, look, how you feeling? How you doing? Like he'll always kind of check in, and we'll have that kind of rapport with each other.
Brilliant, yeah.
But depression, it's different for everybody. Everybody lives with it in their own way. Some people find it harder than others. Some people are able to deal with it better, but we all have our own ways of dealing with it, and there's not one fix for everybody. You'll have to find your own way of dealing with it. But yeah, like, and I wouldn't take anyone saying, "Oh, mine's worse than yours, or yours worse than mine,"
No.
or blah, blah, because you don't know what caused it. Like,
Yes.
some people might have a certain situation that caused it. Maybe it was like a death in the family and they went into it, or maybe it was like childhood trauma, or maybe it was just like an identity crisis.
Yes.
People have their own reasons for it happening to them.
Yes.
Me, I'm still trying to figure out why it's happened to me. Like, it could be a
Interesting.
combination of an undiagnosed disease,
Yes.
a mental thing, which could lead on to depression and stuff like that. But yeah, like, I try my best. A lot of my poetry that I'm writing now is more introspective about who I am and dealing with like depression and stuff like that. And I write about the other side, about coming out of the battle as well, to try and give people the optimism like that. It doesn't always last, you know. You can get out of it. There is always a light at the end of the tunnel, even if you don't see it yourself. Like, there's always someone you can talk to. Like, and I try to be that person. If, like, whenever I hear of someone like going through a rough time, like, even people I haven't really met, like, there was the other day, I think like 2 days ago, someone that I follow on Instagram were going through a hard, like, they say they're going through a hard time. I just never met you before, but look, hey, how you doing? Just have a brief chat with them, and they're just like, look, you're not alone. Like, you'll do it. Like, and just take your time. Like, just ride the lows and enjoy the highs. You know, that kind of way.
Yes. And is there anything in particular, like for you, like in terms of triggers, or is there anything that like is it like, I know you said, okay, if two of them sort of your pillars of health are
Yeah.
out of balance, like that's a sign that things are going to kind of out of whack in a way. Is there anything else, like any sort of because I know some people, I know Vagabond Queen had a kind of traumatic start. That's where that poem comes from, at the end of summer, I think. Bundorn, I think, I don't know, it could have been Dorn, but you know, just like seasonal memories in a
Yeah.
way, or
Yeah,
anything.
Christmas would be a hard time for me, like around December and stuff like that. A few family things around Christmas that happened that like really, really affected me and my whole family.
Yes.
So that'd be a tough time of year. So coming up to Christmas, always be a really tough time for me.
Yes.
And then like January, I think it's a great start. Like, a lot of people hate January.
Yeah.
I love it. I see it as a new beginning.
Fresh beginning.
Yeah, I see it as a new
I
beginning.
know.
It's great. Like, but then, like, even though we're in January now, I'm still having days where I'm not getting out of bed and stuff like
Yes.
that. Like today is the earliest I've gotten up in a long, long time, because I knew I had to come here. Like, the
Yeah,
last time
yeah,
we
yeah.
had this booked for
Sometime
a couple
before
of weeks ago. It was
Christmas,
before
could have been.
Christmas, yeah. And the whole reason why I didn't come down, because like there was no way of me getting out of bed. It's
Yeah.
like, you all right? It's like, yeah, grand. But like, I just couldn't
Couldn't do it.
deal with it. There's no way I could have the conversation I'm having with you today.
Yes, but
On that day, you know?
this is what's so interesting, because like what you're describing sounds like so harrowing and just so difficult to deal with, and yet like throughout this conversation, I would never think, oh, he's having these problems in a way. Or when I see you at the Smithfield, I like, it's strange,
We all,
that disconnect in a way.
you kind of have like put on a mask. Like, I was chatting to like a friend of mine before the gig on Friday. Like, I was like, well, I'm still in bed at 6 o'clock. I'm supposed to be at Shinee at 7. It's like, but will you be all right? It's like, look, as soon as I get there, like, no one will have a clue that I was like wallowing in
Yes.
self-pity for the day. Like, they wouldn't even recognize it. When I get up there, it's like, hey, how are you getting on, guys? How are you? Like, you put on that
everybody
front,
ready?
you fall into it. Like, it becomes
Christ,
a way
man.
of masking, and you have to kind of learn. Like, and I've been doing that forever. Like, for what it seems, is like hiding it, like,
Yes.
to the masses. But like, when it comes to talking to people that I trust about it, I can let them
Oh,
know.
yeah.
You know, the kind of way. Like,
I'm fucked here, so like you let them know when
it's
it's
the same.
on.
Like I wouldn't necessarily go to my parents and say, "Here, look," like they know I struggle, but I wouldn't go on to like, "Here, look, ma, dad, like I need your help.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
call in with a bit of grub or anything?" Because I wouldn't want to worry them, you know,
Burden them or
burden them or
whatever,
worry
yeah,
them, or
yeah.
like, because like they all have their own problems. It's like, I wouldn't want to put mine on theirs, and like, even though I'm the first person to go, if you have it and tell me, I want to help,
Yes.
I'll be the last person to ask for help. You know, the kind
I
of
know,
way.
yeah.
And I think a lot of people are like that. A
Oh,
lot
we're
of
all like
people
that.
be like, they don't want to hold their hand up and go, "Look, I need help."
I need help.
But like, there was a low time there I had about 4 years ago where I fucking knew I needed help, because I was in the lowest point of my life where I was on
Yes.
a base. So I was like, look, if I don't change something, this won't last long.
Yes.
So I was like, went into counselling, which I've been through about 4 or 5 counsellors in my life at the moment. Like, some are great, some are shite, you know, the kind of way. And then
Yeah.
like got into the exercise and stuff like that. And like, I'm not very good at committing to things. Like, even though like I spent a good year going to the gym 2-3 times a week, Now I haven't stepped foot in the gym in over a year. Like I
okay.
used to go running a lot. I used to go running like 3 times a week. I haven't gone for a run in ages. You know, I used to play football twice a week. Like haven't played
Interesting.
football. Like so things that I know help.
Yes.
I still not doing it, even though I know they help me.
know.
I just still don't have that motivation or that energy to do it, and that's some sort of psychological barrier.
know.
Even though I know it works, and even though I know it helps me, I can't find to get into the rhythm. So getting into that rhythm routine and keeping it,
I know.
that's the real struggle.
It's a struggle of humanity. Like
Yeah.
we know what's good for us, we know what's bad for us, and that doesn't help in our decision making.
Hence why I'm 1 week sober, because the alcohol doesn't help, because
Yes.
it's a natural depressant. Even though like I love the culture of going out for
I
pints.
know.
I love the culture like
The
of going out.
beautiful, the loosen of the lips.
Oh
the
man, like I
fucking
just love
crack, man.
mingling
Yes.
and meeting people and just going out and having the journey and seeing where that adventure takes you.
Yes.
Because I'm a man of just like if something's fun or something
I know.
like intrigues me or whets my fucking appetite
Let's
for something,
go.
I'll follow it. And
Yeah.
even if it put me in a precarious situation,
yeah.
touch wood, like I've never been beaten up or anything like that, but I did have my wallet stolen on me on Tuesday, so that was like, it's like, okay, maybe it's a bit
No.
much, and like whoever stole my wallet went to McDonald's 3 times with
A
us.
little bastard.
3 times I went to McDonald's, and then they went to like Spar or some shop on Grafton Street,
Little
and then I was like,
bastards,
"Hey,
man.
you!" I was like, "Look, at least you got fed, like, but
Yeah.
like, at least give me back my driver's license and stuff like
That's
that,
the
you know, the
worst,
kind of like."
man. The driver's license. That's
Yeah.
the worst one to lose. It's so annoying.
But like, and then I realized, like, okay, like, I wouldn't have gotten it nicked on me if I wasn't in such a bad drunken state, like.
You probably like, here, take me wallet. Like, you need it. You need
It's
it.
more like
My license is there as well.
It's more like I literally physically can't chase you right now.
Yeah, like alcohol. That's for me. It was the hangovers like
Yeah.
that pushed me away because of that. That depressed sort of down state. But and then also just while we're on the topic, like, because I'm trying to understand, like, what is the feeling like when we're saying this word depression, or I feel depressed. What are we pointing to in a way? Like, it's I know
for me, it's a feeling of numbness where you don't feel happy or sad or any emotion at all. You're just kind of just existing, and you're constantly tired. There's no way of waking up. So you're lying in bed and you might be awake for an hour, but you just kind of roll over and you can sleep for another 2 hours, and then you wake up again. You might doom scroll on your phone. There'd be times where like I wouldn't be able to listen to music because like I couldn't keep that focus on
it's
music
just it's just nothing.
couldn't even put on a movie. So say if I put on a movie or something like that, like I'd zone out and just scroll on my phone or just I'd try and it just nothing. You can't fixate on it, and you're just numb, and it's just it's difficult, and like you'd spend fucking hours crying to yourself and stuff like that, and like even around people, and like. That's why I say sometimes I wouldn't want to go downstairs, because if I met someone in the car and they go, "Are you okay?" I'd literally just burst into tears. You know, the kind of way. Like, and like if someone was being nice to me, I'd cry, and I'd suffer with anxiety. Like I remember, like someone asked me to go out, like before Christmas, I think it was, like, or maybe it was at the end of the summer. It's like, "Oh yeah, like we're meeting for pints here," and it's like, I said yeah in the morning, and by the time it came around to the time to go out, I was like, "Oh no, I'm not ready to deal with people," and I was voice noting them, and it's like, "Look, I'm not going to be able to do it," blah blah blah. And they go, "Look, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. Look, we all have these days." And then like I was literally, because what they said to me was so nice, I actually burst into tears, and I was still sending voice notes, and he goes, "What are you crying for?" I was like, "That was just so nice for you to say that. It's okay to not be coming out." Like, so it just affects you so much. Like, but it's something I've dealt with like for 20 years, and I'll continue to deal with it for the rest of my life. I don't. There's not going to be I'm cured. It's never going to be a cure. It's just something that you're going to have to work on throughout your life. You know.
Jesus, yeah, it's a tough. It's a tough cross to bear, but like hopefully, I think.
Sure, it adds character. What?
It adds character. It's a story. It adds more to you. For me, like,
it's another chapter to the book.
Yeah, like you as an entity going through the world, because it's just because of that disconnect of the guy who's just like, "Oh, how he's all getting on," and just keeping it like at this good level of confidence and happiness, and then to know that you're also going.
It's all a front.
To that struggle, but we're all. It's all for everything is a front, right?
It's all a facade.
Yeah. But and it's great that you're kind of so candid and just open to trying to describe it and discuss it, because for me, there's probably people out there that they know there's something up. They know they probably can relate so much to like what you're describing, like that numbness and stuff, and to like I don't know to try. I don't know how to. The only thing that I can think of that we can help people with is just with this podcast is just letting people know that they're not alone in a way.
I think like in the past, definitely the past 5 years, mental health has come a bit more to the forefront and people are actually talking about it and letting people know when they're struggling and helping out with each other. Like before it was always kind of hidden behind closed doors it was horrible. Like you wouldn't want to talk about it. You just kind of like
under the carpet. Don't
that's
be
it. Like
about
I'd stay in my gaff for a couple of months at a time and I wouldn't see me friends or stuff like that. I'd bump up to my family because I could kind of feel the thing. So like, and then you come out and you're going out every day because like you're like okay, right, grand, and you're burning the candle again. Like you're like grand because there's either too much or too little. You know, that kind of way. Like it never plateaus in the right place where you want it. You know. But so what nowadays like a lot more people are talking about is coming towards into the more public sphere thing. So I think it's getting easier to talk about it and easier to share. Doesn't necessarily make it easier to deal with.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know, that kind of way,
but
like,
at least you know, like what you're describing when you can tell people, oh yeah, I'm having one of those days, or I'm in this really bad period at the moment.
I do think talking about it does save lives because a lot of people that are dealing with it, they might look for that way out.
Yes.
But if you can talk about it and tell people your experiences and then just chat to someone, it's like, look, just ride it out.
Yes.
Don't let it completely consume you where you have to.
I know, take your life at the worst case
that's
scenario.
it. Like, but like by talking about it, hopefully that saves lives, and that's really the main thing about it because like it should never get that bad. Well, not to saying that it should never get bad. Like I'd hope that by talking about it,
it's avoidable
people
in some way.
It can be avoidable, and like they can literally go, "Hey, look, maybe it's not the end. Maybe I can write it out and like, stuff like that."
I like as I said, I'm very kind of ignorant and naive about this whole area of life. Like my own mother killed herself. Like so, I know that she was dealing with demons. That I was only 11, so I can't really understand it. But a part of me, like I sympathize with the person in a way, as in like my mother. Like I think Anne actually helped me with this language. Who got this off Shiv Hickey, if I remember correctly. That she died. She didn't commit suicide. She died from suicide.
Yeah, she completed suicide.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very
because it's not a crime. They're not committing anything.
Exactly. It's just that
the language around it is very
it's very blame and selfish.
There's
and
a stigma behind the language.
There's a stigma, and it's just like a part of me.
Same with the old Catholic Church. Like they wouldn't bury someone that took their own lives like in consecrated ground. Like it wasn't fair. Like look, you have to realize that these people are struggling, they're victims, they don't want it on themselves.
Their brain made them do it, like the worst thing.
That's it, like
by definition.
Your brain is addicted to negative thoughts.
Yes.
So once you have one negative thought, it becomes intrusive and you just relay it over and over again, and it's a very hard cycle to get out of.
Yes.
But again, like it's not the individual's fault that happened. Like no one asked for it.
No one asked for it. That's the thing. It's not like, oh yes, when I'm born, they were once a little child.
And that's where it stems from. Most of it stems from the first couple of years. I think your first 2 years of life, because when you're absorbing all that, if you're absorbing in negativity or stress around those 2 years, that's how you perceive life in general.
It's imprinted.
So if you have like a good, happy like upbringing for the first 2 years of your life where you have everything you needed, I think you become a stronger person.
Yes.
But if you have like, obviously we don't remember the first 2 years of our lives, but that's where the biggest input into who we are happens. Like
so much happens within it, so like 1 to 4 basically. I know 1 to 2 is very important, but then like 2 4, certain things, if you're not social by like 7 or something, there's cutoff points that if we haven't
at the same time you can't change it.
Oh yeah.
Like just because it has happened to you and it has affected you and you know that's where it stemmed from, you don't have to let that rule your life. You go, okay, well now I can work on it. Now that I know where it comes from and now that I know that this is part of who I am, I don't have to let it take over my life, even though it does take over my life a lot from time to time, but I know it doesn't define me. I know that I will eventually get out. I know that I can I know the exercise helps. I know sleep routine helps. I know that there is tools there for me anyway that can get me out of these situations. Whether I use the tools or not, I know they're there.
But that's what I mean. You're not using. It's the problem I see with the whole thing is that if people, it's when you start using things as an excuse. It's like when you use anything as an excuse, like your age or your whatever situation you're in, like if you're too depressed, like you could just say, well, I'm never going to be happy, so I'm just going to stay in my room forever and not, do anything with it.
And you will think like that, even though you know what helps, even though you know what works, you will get into a train of thought of saying those same things again over and over again. Even though I've been through lows and I've gotten out of them, and I've been through lows and I've gotten out of them. Like when you're in the lows, you don't think of the positive side. You don't think of getting out of them. Like in the back of your head, you kind of do know you're going to get out of them, but at the same time, like I know that some things help me, but while I'm in those states, you just don't have the motivation to actually do them. You don't have the drive to do them, even though you want it. And like, you're there, like lying there, or sitting there, and everything going through. You're like, why don't you just get up? Why don't you just get up, go for a walk? And he's like, no, can't do it.
I can just get up though.
I can just get up. Like, why don't you just go to the bathroom? Or just walk across.
Or just get something to eat.
Yeah, just walk across the land. Like, no. And you're just stuck. You're just stuck and you're numb. Like, even though you know that simple things, like, and you'd be sitting there starving.
That's
like,
insane.
And you're like, I should go up and make a sandwich or even a cup of tea. He's like, no, I'm not going downstairs. Like, it's tough. Even though you know what's going to help, it's hard to get to this point to do it. So you literally just have to ride it out. You have to ride it out, and it's easier said than done.
I know,
so much easier said than done.
I imagine anyway.
But it will subside. It will go, and you'll.
It's the only solace that I can imagine, like you're describing there, is that, and even I've thought about this before. If let's say, for example, I was being you play all these thought experiments out, but you're being tortured or held against your will, or whatever. There's always a full stop, and I know that you will, because the world, your experience will eventually come to an end. So, and then you can kind of hopefully park pain. The way I see, like I know, and this is like totally ignorant, and I've never dealt with anything before, but in my head I'm like, oh well, there's no point really like taking my own life because it's gonna be taken anyway. So I'm gonna hang around until that happens. But
like, it's like that. Do you want to leave everyone else to pick up the pieces after you're gone and cause a certain level of trauma for them?
Yeah, I know.
You know, that kind of way. Like, not saying that it's a selfish thing to do. I'm not saying that at all, because like if people really, really want a way out and escape, and they see that's their only way out, like I
wish that wasn't the case.
You wish it wasn't the case, but for them, they're going through something that they feel it within themselves. It's the only sense of relief.
And they've weighed it up. Yeah. They've probably done that, and it's still,
it doesn't come easy. Like, it's not like an easy decision to do that.
No, it's like the worst. It's the worst mental state possible that produces someone that commits suicide. But just because that's the worst thing that can happen to us as humans.
Because they know that how it's going to affect their friends and family and people around them. They know that, if that's the better option for them, like that's exactly, a harrowing place. And I've been in that place before, and thankfully I'm still here. You know.
Yes.
Like there's a poem that I do, and at the end of it, the last line is like, "We still live," because like. We're still around to tell the story, like, so let's kind of like keep that going. Like, that's why like I have a poem. It's called Things I've Learned. I might do it for you later on if you want. But like,
well, I mean, now would be a brilliant time if
sure, I'll whip it out again.
We could probably let me just double check the time there. We're still fucking. Oh yeah. So we're just coming up on the 2 hour mark. So this would be a good time to start landing the plane, as they say. Like, and this could probably this could be a good one to. Anyway, enough talking from me.
So this is a poem that I wrote about coming out of depressive states and knowing that like you've been through it, but there is like the other side. Let's say it's called Things I've Learned. Things I've learned. I'm not alone. I'm never too far away from a welcome at home, an ear, a shoulder, a place for where nights go colder. What I have learned is that I'm strong. I've got the strength to carry on, to take a step back and get back on track. I have learned to live and let live, to be myself and to allow others to be theirs. Life gets easier the less we judge, give each other hugs. We bounce back from panic attacks. We climb the hills of mental ills. We thrive after we run and hide. We are not alone. We are strong. We still live. That's it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That was brilliant, man.
Click.
Yeah, because obviously it's from that understanding of that place and keeping that optimism, and even how you present. That's why in your poetry and in your speech, there's sort of that thread of optimism in a way just in how you carry yourself. That's what the disconnect is in my head. But yeah, I just really appreciate you obviously being so forthright with all this, and like I'm gonna take a while to digest this, and I think I'll hopefully be valuable for people. And yeah, I just think we won't hit a higher note than that. But I just want to say, and I appreciate all the work you do at Smithfield Creatives.
Thanks very
and the
much.
team that you've created there, created. Obviously Andy Kelly, we got Anne, and fucking, it's a great little support system there. And I can't wait to see where this goes into the future. It's brilliant.
Yeah, watch the space. We're growing every couple of months. We're getting we're getting more and more gigs. Hopefully we'll have 1 or 2 festivals to play this year, and we'll be doing the bigger gigs in Chennai more frequently, and we'll be doing the Wednesday nights indefinitely.
Yes.
So like we'll keep
get
it
down
up.
to the Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
Like
the Jar Wednesday night, 7:30.
Honestly.
You can book in through the Instagram or smithfieldcreatives@gmail.com, or preferably through the Instagram because I don't check the emails that regularly.
That's just to make it look professional.
You can arrive up on the night for a 5-minute slot. You can book in for the 10-minute slot. I'll get in touch with you for featured slots, and then when it comes to the Chennai gigs, I'll reach out to you guys and stuff like that, and we'll have a great time. We'll get people bopping and dancing,
and even if you don't perform, please
come down. It's just a good night.
It's great. You don't understand. That's
it's just a savage night.
When my
of
friends
buzz,
came out to that gig at Chennai, the showcase, they were so. There were the positive comments just about the poetry, about the arts, and I've been telling you, there's like so much going on. There's so much talent that we're not subjecting ourselves to, and there's so many great people out there. And
Dublin is bursting at the seams with talent. Like it's so hard to keep
and
up.
Stuff to happen. That's happening.
It's everywhere. Like you can throw a stone, you're going to hit about 1,200 musicians. Like
I know, and it's insane but to go to these events, like I think I was like a gateway drug for some people there that had never been to these kind of things, and it kind of made me think, I'd like to go to these just to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But the Smithfield nights, man, there's something about that room, like in the Jar especially, and the characters that come in, and
it's a beautiful thing, really. It's I love it a bit. Like I can't imagine myself doing anything else after that. Like, never go back to an actual structured job. Let's say.
Yes.
I'll keep doing this
as long as we can. As long as we can. But yeah, I'm sure we'll have to do this again probably in the future next year, like, or whatever. Whenever the next step of it has come.
That's it. Yeah, we touch back in a year or so and have a different discussion. Like have a few footnotes, the minutes of the last podcast.
Yeah, it'll be the Smithfield The Smithfield you cut now.
We'll have merch by then.
Like, it's thought about doing. Like, I suppose it's more work, but like a Smithfield podcast where. I mean, there is potential for like that as well, but it is just more work and stuff.
Yeah, I let things grow organically.
Yes,
I'll never give myself any certain goals, because the way I see it, if you make plans go wrong.
Yes.
If you don't make plans, everything works out.
Everything's everything works out, because that's just the way it happens.
That's it. Just let it happen naturally. Don't put yourself under any unnecessary pressure, you know?
Well, yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to put on the table? I mean, you've said it all. We've got the pointers to Smithfield.
If you've got any sort of inkling to do anything creative, just do it. Don't be shy about it.
Yes.
Just write it down, jot it down, play a couple of chords, tell a few jokes, whatever it may be.
Yes.
Just be it. And whether it sees the light of day, whether it goes to anybody else, it doesn't necessarily have to go on a stage. Just do it.
Yes.
Just be yourself.
And don't care about being good or bad. Just do it. I think that's the problem that blocks all of us from doing everything.
Nobody fucking wakes up and knows how to drive a car straight away. You have to learn.
Like my brother's doing it right now. But you're so right, and you have to. Like when people say they can't sing, for example. Well, obviously, like you can't sing like Michael Jackson, but you can sing. No one says they can't run. No one says they can't walk. It's like a part of our physiology.
That's it.
But you just have to keep greasing the wheel.
Grease the wheel. And like when it comes to singing, like I know I definitely don't have the best voice, but if you put your heart behind it and you sing something that you're passionate about, people will listen and they'll tone out
Exactly.
the quality of the
Yeah,
voice.
the quality.
Yeah.
People will get behind it
Yeah.
because they just think, they're giving us socks or
Yeah.
whatever. You'll find, like, there's loads of people out there that haven't been great world-class singers, but, you know,
Bono.
yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's people out there. So, look, the point is just do it. Do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Take a step out of Nike's books and just do it.
Yeah. Well, look, all right, we actually can't end any higher than that. But we'll leave it there and we'll catch you in the next one.